Resurfaced Matt Walsh prank video.
Yesterday, I called Barack Obama Elementary School. I wanted to find out if the fact that the school's named after Obama actually translates into the way that they grade, into their philosophy and strategy for the grading system.
Right.
And here's what happened.
Barack Obama Elementary.
Y'all opened up on Monday.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for a long time, waiting for like a year or so until there was a school opened up named after my man Barack Obama, you know what I mean? And I wanted to get my son enrolled in y'all's program over there, but I just had a few questions as far as the way that y'all handle the kids and so on with the grading system and whatnot.
Okay, what's your address?
My address is 2020 Smithfield.
What is it?
Smithfield.
Smithfield?
Nah, Smithfield.
Smith?
Smithfield.
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 That's not in our boundary.
That's not within y'all boundary?
No.
Yeah, but I can relocate if that's what it comes down to.
Okay, well then when you do that, you have to bring a proof of residency.
Yeah, no, I can do that. I mean, before I even make decisions like that, I need to know what the school's all about, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean,
What is it that you need to know, sir?
Well, I need to know what y'all, what y'all grading system's all about, first and foremost, because my son that I want to send to y'all, he ain't exactly the top student, you know, in charge, you know what I mean? He ain't really the head dog as far as in his classes and whatnot, he ain't really excelling necessarily. But my thoughts on the matter was, I mean, I know with the way that Obama, you know, I listened to him on a campaign trail and whatnot, and had a lot.
Are you living in the area, sir?
I'm sorry?
Do you live in the area?
No, what I'm saying to you is that I could relocate if that's what the situation called for. But first, I just need to know what y'all system is as far as inside the school dealing with the children, you know?
Okay, let me give you the number to the main office because they have more information that they can provide to you as far as like any...
Okay, the main office right there at the school that you're talking about.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hold on, let me get my pen. All right, what's the number for that?
30
Mm-hmm.
92
Yeah.
6000.
All right, 6,000, 95,000. All right, that sounds good. I'll give them a call right now.
Oh, okay.
All right, thanks so much. All right, goodbye.
Good afternoon, Division of Academics.
Okay, I'm good on this. Oh.
Differences for their If I could please have your attention and spirited welcome. We don't typically get this kind of feedback for ISI events, but I thank you for being here. I thank the college Republicans for their courage in helping to organize this event, the university administration for their defense of free speech and open inquiry and allowing this event to proceed. And I'd also like to thank the Diana Davis Spencer Foundation for making this event possible. Before we get to the topic at hand, I'd like to tell you briefly about my organization, the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. ISI exists to provide a forum and a community for college students across the country.
Isn't the ISI the name of Pakistan's like special ops people, or they're like CIA? Am I making that up? Like the intelligence service of like. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's only 3 letters. There's probably a million 3-letter things, huh? Why didn't we finish the ABBA video? Because I don't care about the drama. I need them to go harder. Okay, fuck them.
Explore and examine fundamental questions about politics, culture, economics, and history, and debate how to implement those ideas in American life and on their campuses, specifically to ensure that the common good and dignity of every
Inter-service
person
intelligence.
is
Gotcha.
respected. We host about 150 events around the country on a wide range of topics, from lectures, debates, weekend conferences, and this debate series is part of an effort to explore questions, and we've explored a number of topics, from national security, economics, technology, to social issues. And we've actually heard from our students that it's the social issues in particular that they would like more.
Did I ever get about Pixie? I told Pixie to find timestamps for me because I'm going to watch a whole 3.5-hour thing. Fresh and Fit fucking kill me.
And more clarification. And so we've picked this issue tonight of transgenderism and law. And I understand that it's obviously a controversial topic. Over 11,000 students have signed a petition calling for this event to be canceled. But we believe that that's a signal that there's more that needs to be explored on this topic. And it touches a nerve in terms of the life in common here at the Pitt community. It touches a nerve because it's a conversation ultimately about human nature. What does it mean to be a man or a woman according to biology, to culture, to history, and to religion? And how should law and public policy...
Why do people always say transgenderism? I think they say it that way. This is kind of a guess, but it kind of sounds like they're saying it that way to make it presented as like an ideology, rather than like, let's talk about trans people. It's like the ideology of transgenderism, like socialism and communism and fascism and transgenderism. It feels like that's what they're trying to do.
reflect those realities. So tonight we gather at a university, a place of open inquiry and discourse, where we ask tough questions and examine presuppositions to confront a difficult question, and I expect our speakers to do it with patience, intelligence, honesty, and openness in an effort to pursue truth together and to deliberate, which is a hallmark of our democratic life, about how to best order our community on this important question. So without further ado, thank you all for coming tonight, and I'd like to welcome Dylan of the College Republicans to introduce our speakers.
Woo! Clappa. Any clappas in the chats?
Thank you all for coming. I'm glad you were able to make it in here through a little bit of an unanticipated crowd there. But just a quick reminder to everybody before I introduce the speakers that there's no signs, noisemakers, or disruptions permitted. And any disruptions that impede the ability of everybody in the room to view and engage in a productive conversation will have those items removed. So our first debater, Mr. Michael Knowles, is the celebrated host of The Michael Knowles Show at the Daily Wire and the book club at PragerU. He is also the author of the best-selling book Speechless. In 2017, Michael published the #1 national best-selling treatise, Reasons to Vote for Democrats, which President Donald Trump hailed as a great book for your reading enjoyment. In late 2020, after an appearance guest hosting the Rush Limbaugh program, it was announced that Michael's daily podcast would be syndicated to terrestrial radio. Our second debater, Brad Palumbo, is a libertarian journalist. His work has been cited by top lawmakers such as Senator Rand Paul, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Pat Toomey, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Congressman Thomas Massie, and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, as well as by prominent media personalities such as Sean Hannity, Ben Shapiro, and Mark Levin. Brad has also testified before the U.S. Senate, appeared on Fox News and Fox Business, and written for publications such as USA Today, National Review, Newsweek, and The Daily Beast.
Cool. Hold on, what is this? Key XQC clip.
What was it? Oh my god, I didn't get to see it.
Wait, this isn't the one we watched, is it? You didn't really link me a clip of something we watched live, did you? Oh no, something different. Oh! Wait, that wasn't even gonna be a win record though, right? Or a winning... That wasn't going to be a world record, right? Or what would you call it? PB? What are they even competing for? Personal record? Between duo record? It's not even a PB. That's still pretty funny. You use cheats anyway?
What was it? Oh my god, I didn't get to see it. What was it?
He co-hosts the Based Politics podcast and has a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Tonight's debate will be moderated by Leah Sargent, who is the Chief of Staff for Debates and Public Discourse at Braver Angels. Her writing has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and others. She is the author of 2 books and has spoken on building community and constructive conflict around the world. She runs Other Feminisms, a Substack community focused on the dignity of interdependence. So please join me in welcoming our speakers.
Clappa.
This is a very different welcome than we got outside. So I appreciate it.
Thank you all very much for coming. I want to give you a brief introduction to the debate format we'll be using and the goals for our debate. We're going to lead off with opening speeches of 5 minutes from each of our speakers, starting with Mr. Knowles, followed by Mr. Palumbo. They'll each have a 2-minute opportunity to rebut or respond to each other's statements, and then we'll have about 30 minutes of moderated discussion between the 2 panelists and me. And after that, we'll open it up to questions from the room, and I suppose, if sufficiently aerodynamic, from the outside room as well. I'm Leah Sargent. I work for Braver Angels, facilitating debates on contentious issues across the nation. And what always interests me is when there's a debate where people feel stuck, where there's a question they feel is vitally important, where they've struck out again and again in trying to address it with people they disagree with, or have felt unable to bring it up at all. I think tonight's topic certainly hits that benchmark. But what interests me about it is I think it's also 2 contentious topics wound up together. There's the obvious, questions of gender identity and who we are, how we see each other. But then there's the second one, which is how do we live alongside each other in a pluralistic society when we disagree strongly with our neighbor and there isn't an easy compromise? You can't average out the tax rates to decide how you'll live alongside a difference of agreement about gender identity. So I think one thing I'd like everyone to consider in attending is that whether or not you've come into the room with a very strong belief about the question of gender and transgender ideas, you may find yourself agreeing or disagreeing with the speaker you support when it comes to the question of how we navigate those differences in a pluralistic society.
Cool.
When the law should coerce, what we do when we disagree deeply with a friend. And I hope you'll leave this room better prepared to speak to someone who you think is living wrongly, who you love, who you can't walk away from or simply protest, and you want to figure out, how do I say I think you're wrong in a way that they'll hear as an act of love? With no further ado, Mr. Knowles.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. All right. There they are. I didn't know. I thought they might have been stuck outside. But we found them. Was that to them or to me? That was to them. Okay, it's confusing.
Trans rights
All
are
right.
human rights. Trans rights are human rights.
That sounds like they've gotten into harmony. Not even just melody anymore. All right. See, I was under the impression that I was opening the debate, and then Brad would follow, and then we'd have rebuttals. But I guess there was an opening act that I was not.
I thought you were meant to be an adult.
No, certainly not. That hasn't been true in a while. All right. Well, as edifying as that lecture has been, I think we probably ought to get on with the debate. Thank you very much to the police for removing that.
Oh, no.
All right. Leah, I don't want that to come off my clock. I didn't call for them.
I'm not promising anything, Michael.
I'd like to begin by thanking a few people. I want to thank Leah. I want to thank ISI. I want to thank my welcoming committee out there. I would especially like to thank Brad for pinch hitting after my original debate opponent withdrew. Brad came in at the last minute, and I really appreciate it. Professor McCloskey, who I was initially slated to debate, despite 3 degrees from Harvard, could not defend transgender ideology. He knew my views, we had chatted about them, he repeatedly expressed his desire to debate, then at the last minute he withdrew because, I suspect, he felt it more prudent to concede than to lose in front of C-SPAN's cameras. Even a distinguished scholar could not defend the indefensible. My opponent tonight has a more middle-of-the-road position than Professor McCloskey. Unlike Professor McCloskey, Mr. Palumbo does not believe that so-called trans women are really women. He has admitted that they're men. He doesn't think we should trans the kids. He opposes men in women's sports. But he does address men who identify as women as she and her.
Damn.
And he does think they should be allowed into women's bathrooms.
Wow.
This middle-of-the-road position makes even less sense than Professor McCloskey's. At least McCloskey is consistent. He says transgenderism is true, and therefore true for everyone, of all ages. And therefore, we ought to call some men she and her, and allow them into the girls' bathroom and onto women's sports teams, and give them all the rights and privileges that our culture and law traditionally reserve for women. My opponent tonight, on the other hand, is inconsistent, even, I'm sorry to say, incoherent on this point. He says transgenderism is not true, but that we ought to pretend that it is, but only sometimes. He has said that if Blair White, who's a very nice guy, by the way, who's been on my show, if he were convicted of a crime that he...
Okay, I just want you to know, because it's so funny watching conservatives trip over this. He is trying so hard in his mind. 140% of his brain power is going into misgendering Blair. He's got to remember, so Blair, he probably stood in front of the mirror for like 30 minutes. Blair White, he. Blair White, he, him. Blair White, he. He, him. He, him, he, him. Blair White, he is a good friend. Blair White, like this guy has like for 10 hours practiced that because conservatives fuck this up so much. I think I saw Steven Crowder on his show do it. I think it was like a week or two ago where they did it with a person where they constantly accidentally gendered them as the way they appeared, where they were trying to, they had to keep correcting themselves. Yeah, I know, she's like so crazy. I mean, oh my God.
He ought to be sent to a women's prison because surgery and makeup have made him sufficiently dainty, whereas burlier transgender identifying criminals might have to stick with the men. My opponent suggests that we be dishonest enough to call men she, but honest enough not to force women to compete against men in sports, but still dishonest enough.
Oh, hold on. This was the Crowder one.
Break the leg.
There's one way to curb underage drinking. Gosh. Let's also put a picture of her by the mantle. Keep the kids away from the fire.
Yeah.
Him. Shoot. Whatever. Z. I don't know. You can admonish me off the bat because I can't keep this straight.
Look, I guess if Bud Light can pretend to be beer, he can pretend to be a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
But my question was that really her head? Why did her head look so huge and her
torso looks so tiny.
Well, that's what happens. The estrogen sort of, it breaks down the body to the point of no repair, but you still have the
That was
acronomaly.
a guy at one point?
Yeah, exactly.
You want me to believe this?
Still is.
Yeah.
Still is a guy.
I gotta be sort of kind of cute.
Really? What? You're into the whole body of Tweety Bird,
Oh,
head
wait
of
a minute,
Andre
let me
the
look at that
Giant?
again. No, I'm sorry. I was
Cameo
talking
it.
about the girl in the Nike commercial.
Oh.
No, holy Jesus! But her head looks huge there.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's an official deal with Bud Light or not.
I have no idea. But
It's just funny how like they're trying so hard to misgender. He, her, she, he. I don't even know anymore. Caesar, like James O'Keefe did the same. Jesus Christ, bro! The fucking prank call got leaked and he's posting through it. Honest to God, props. I give him mad props for that. I give him props for that. Fucking A, dude. Post through it, hell yeah.
James O'Keefe with OMG News outside the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills. Dylan Mulvaney is inside the women's restroom right now, so I'm going to ask him for comment about our story regarding women being raped in prison by men claiming to be transgender. Here we go. Dylan, this is James O'Keefe, OMG. Women are being raped in a prison in Washington State by men claiming to be transgender. There's footage of them talking about the rape. Do you have a comment on the story here of the women being raped by the men claiming to be transgender? James O'Keefe, OMG.
Destiny, he got
News.
hacked? Oh, never mind.
What do you think about the women who are being raped by the men who are transgender? Do you have a comment about that?
Please don't come in the elevator.
What do you think about, what is your comment to the women who are being raped by men claiming to be transgender, Dylan? So we're here with Dylan here. Haven't had much Bud Light recently, but we're very interested in the women's prison. Dylan? Okay. She did go into the, she went into the women's restroom.
What the hell are you doing? This is a women's bathroom.
Trying to show them the footage. No comment here at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills? All right. I wonder where she's going. He's going.
Wait, why wouldn't he just edit the footage? Or why wouldn't they just reshoot it?
Do you guys have any, like, O'Keefe beer? O'Keefe beer?
Do you have any O'Keefe?
No O'Keefe beer? Do you guys have O'Keefe beer? You don't carry O'Keefe beer? You know when you'll get a shipment in?
To force women to share bathrooms with men. Because the men aren't women, but they should enjoy women's rights and privileges, but only some rights and privileges, and those based on, I don't know. I'm sure Brad will do his best to explain that in just a moment. Seems a bit haphazard to me. Above all, though, my opponent believes the law should pretty much stay out of it. It is this last point that matters for tonight's debate, because tonight's debate does not concern whether transgenderism is true or even how to address it. Tonight's debate concerns a more basic question. Should the law regulate transgenderism at all? On that question, there is not much to debate, because regardless of whether or not one wishes for the law to regulate transgenderism, it will. Even the most tolerant, open-minded, pluralistic society cannot simultaneously uphold mutually contradictory principles. In even the most liberal society, the law must answer at least certain...
That is absolutely not true, especially in a liberal or democratic society. There are plenty of contradictory principles in our society. For instance, people worship different gods. Unless he's talking about like the law itself, but then he just said that this isn't about the law. So that's an interesting phrase there. But
basic questions. If the law has nothing to say about what a woman is, then the law has nothing to say at all. My opponent might suggest we leave it to private business to decide. But the practical implications of transgenderism extend far beyond private business, to the military, to public schools, to government employees, and to many other sectors of society. The law cannot evade the question. The bathroom issue keeps coming up because it is so clear and so instructive. It presents a conflict between two supposed rights, the right of women to have their own bathrooms and the supposed right of some men to go into the women's bathroom, thereby abolishing women's bathrooms. The law must pick a side. There is no neutrality.
I'm sorry, I don't actually know this. Is women's and men's bathrooms, is that enshrined in law somewhere? I could be wrong. I have no idea. Is that a legal or illegal thing? I feel like this is just like a delineation of like spaces in like restaurants. You can have unisex bathrooms, you can have male bathrooms, female bathrooms. Like, is it like illegal? Like, I imagine there could be like trespassing, or maybe there could be like some sexual impropriety if you go in and do weird things. But is it like illegal? Is it like enshrined in law? There are like males' bathrooms are for men and females' bathrooms are for biological women. I feel like that's not a law thing. I could be wrong, but
Unlike some other political issues, there can be no middle ground. Either women get their own bathrooms or they don't. Either women have rights and legal protections as women, as they always have, or they don't. The law might say they do, and the law might say they don't. But the one thing the law cannot say is nothing.
Hi, everybody. I want to say thank you to ISI for having us, and thank you to Michael for being willing to have this debate. And I would like to say to the people outside or inside, who are not just interested in having their voices heard, but in trying to shut down this debate, grow the hell up.
damn.
The debate is happening, whether you like it or not. It's your choice to participate in it or bury your head in the sand. This is America, we have free speech, and I just don't really stand for anybody who would try to shut down the voices they disagree with rather than engage with them.
Wow.
Now, I want to start by pointing out something that might seem surprising, but I am a gay agnostic libertarian, yet I recently, or not too recently, found out that I have something in common with a Orthodox Christian conservative baker you might have heard of named Jack Phillips. You see, I met him a few years ago when he was the subject of a Supreme Court case because gay rights activists had harangued him into court trying to force him to bake a gay wedding cake. Then trans activists came and invented a gender transition cake and wanted him to bake that too. But when I met him, I realized we actually had much more in common than I had ever anticipated, because we both believe in pluralism, freedom of speech, and the general laissez-faire, live and let live idea of America, that we can have radically different worldviews and beliefs, but live in peace side by side, without either side trying to conquer or force the other side to bend the knee. But those activists who chased him into court, who harassed his business, harassed his family, drove away his customers, tried to use the force of the law to eradicate his beliefs, his bigoted and evil beliefs in their view. They do not. They reject America's classically liberal pluralistic values. And unfortunately, I have to tell you that Michael Knowles and people of his intellectual ilk, they do too.
Ooh.
They've unfortunately become essentially a right-wing version of those LGBT activists who seek to use the state to police how other people can live their lives and restrict them from living in ways they personally disapprove of. You don't have to take my word for it. Michael recently said at a speech I'm sure you're all aware of that we should eradicate transgenderism from public life. Now, to be fair to Michael, he was not, as some of his critics have mischaracterized him, calling for pogroms or for people to be killed. But what he was calling for, and what he has called for many times in many other places, is to ban transgenderism, to ban adults from receiving medical transition treatments, to ban adults from using preferred pronouns and names in public, to ban adults from accessing facilities that align with their outward appearance. And even in the case of transgender TikToker Dylan Mulvaney, who I will admit is pretty cringe, Michael has called for Dylan Mulvaney to be institutionalized. That's what we do to serial killers who plead not guilty by virtue of mental insanity. We lock them up, deprive them of their liberty, take them away from their family. And that's what apparently folks like Michael Knowles think should be done to outspoken transgender adults, because he disapproves of their lifestyle, he disapproves of their beliefs, and he disapproves of their words. Now, I'm here to suggest that that totalitarian approach to debating social issues is fundamentally inconsistent with conservative principles of individual liberty, limited government, and the classically liberal society that conservatives in the US have always wanted to conserve. But it's also remarkably short-sighted. About 30% of the United States identifies as socially conservative. About 23% identifies as Catholic, which is Michael's faith. And I'm from New England, so that I know that a lot of those Catholics are actually pretty libbed out. So what you have is a minority of the country, a small minority, that actually holds ultra-traditionalist beliefs on social issues. So if we want to start having the majority rules approach of suppressing lifestyles you don't approve of shutting down ideas, of banning ideas and lifestyles that aren't in alignment with your values, that is not going to go well for my friends on the religious right.
Wait, is this guy like an actual libertarian? It's not, a conservative's worst enemy is always like an actual libertarian showing up, because they have like a lot of the good conservative principles, but they're not like super ultra cringe on social issues. But I don't remember who this guy, the Plumo?
Now, none of this is to say we must have a totally anarchist approach to transgender issues. I think we can reasonably and fairly discuss questions about medical, societal, and perhaps even governmental restrictions on things like children making decisions for medical treatments they can't really consent to, that could have life-altering consequences. I think we can protect rules that ensure fairness in sports where it's applicable. I think we can navigate these nuances without depriving our American adult peers of the right to live their lives how they see fit in accordance with their values. Because that's the test of freedom. It's easy to believe in freedom for the people you like. It's easy to believe in freedom for your friends, for the people on your team. But you have to believe in freedom for the people you don't like.
True.
The people that give you the ick.
True.
If you don't believe in freedom for anybody.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the approach that Michael Knowles and his ilk advocate on these issues is inconsistent with traditional conservative values of individual liberty, and it would ultimately set the stage for their own downfall. So we should take a pluralistic and classical liberal approach to these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I am shocked to hear that I'm not pluralistic. I consider myself very, very open-minded, as we all are in America, but on certain issues we cannot be totally open-minded. Because on some issues you see a conflict of rights and conflict of claimed rights and a conflict of freedom. So if we were debating tax policy, we might come to some conciliatory middle ground and we might hear all sides. If we were discussing immigration, we might say, okay, we take in 3 million immigrants a year today. Conservatives don't want to take in any more immigrants. We've taken in a lot. But okay, let's meet in the middle somewhere. On this issue, we can't do that because either the women have the bathrooms or they don't. Either the women have the sports teams or they don't. Certain issues, you can't just meet in the middle. On certain issues, you would split the baby, which is no good for anybody. So here, Brad is claiming the freedom of the transgender identifying people, men who think that they're women mistakenly, to enter into the women's bathroom. And what I'm defending is the genuine freedom and right of women to have their own bathrooms. Only one of those is going to win out. Only one of those is in accordance with reality. So I would just as soon defend the one.
Stop linking Matt Walsh tweets. We get it. His account's been hacked. The guy's going to tweet a bunch of dumb shit. I don't care. Please stop. Cringe.
That happens to align with the truth. Now, a lot of what Brad just said is not true. Brad said that America is very liberal and open-minded on these transgender issues. It doesn't seem to be the case. According to Pew Research, 60% of Americans say that manhood and womanhood is determined by biological sex. And so I wish it were 100%, but 60% is not bad. It's a clear majority of the country. It's up from 56% just a couple of years ago, and it's up from 54% in 2017. So the American people are on our side on transgender issues because they have eyes and a brain, and the American people are increasingly on our side on these issues. As for the freedom of these people to mutilate themselves and to harm themselves, I wonder if Brad would extend that same conception of freedom to someone who suffers from a body integrity disorder. Body integrity disorder is very similar to transgenderism in that it involves people, usually early onset, about 8 to 12 years old, who will imagine that a healthy limb does not really belong to them, and they'll ask a doctor to cut off that healthy limb. This would be medical malpractice today. I don't think any of us would want to allow some poor soul to have their limbs chopped off because of a disorder. We would want to give them psychiatric treatment. So I don't really see why the same principle wouldn't hold true here, especially considering the very harmful effects of the transition. The largest data set on sex reassignment procedures, both hormonal and surgical, reveals no mental health benefits whatsoever. This was in October 2019, the American Journal of Psychiatry. In fact, what the data set showed was that the transition made the patient's mental health deteriorate, at least on one point, which is anxiety. Rates of transgender regret are skyrocketing. Lord Robert Winston, surgeon and scientist in the UK, found that 40% of people who undergo what we'll call euphemistically bottom surgery experience complications. Many need further surgery. A quarter of the women who undergo top surgery feel uncomfortable with what they have done. This harms people immensely. It is growing. It is raging. The numbers of young people who identify with it have doubled in recent years, and that's why we shouldn't subject people to it. Thank you, Leah, for that very kind reminder that I've gone over time.
Thank you.
So a few points to touch on there. But as to the question of polling, the American public's view on these issues is pretty nuanced. But I could also show you polls that say 60, 70% of Americans believe in anti-discrimination protections for transgender people. In fact, I think the eradicate transgenderism from public life position, even as Michael describes it, not as his critics do, is not going to poll high in America. And if all you have to offer to one extreme is the opposite extreme, you're actually making that opposite extreme more likely to succeed. Imagine if instead of running against gun control, you had to run on let people own nukes. Imagine if instead of running on let's not do socialism, you had to run on abolish Social Security, abolish Medicare, abolish everything. Obviously, you're going to be less successful at actually achieving power, at winning an election, at building a consensus to accomplish what you want to accomplish, which in our case, for example, is protecting children, protecting fairness in sports, these kinds of things, if all you're offering is the complete and opposite extreme. And that's what Knowles and his company are offering. As far as bodily integrity disorder or the benefits to transition supposedly not existing, I'm not here to quibble with the scientific data. I'm not an expert in any of that, and neither is Michael. I'm here to say it's not up to us. You're a fully grown adult. It's up to you to decide what's best for you. And as far as chopping off your limbs and bodily disorder, no doctor in their right mind is going to do that. And whether you agree with it or not, it is the case that most doctors, most medical authorities, most medical bodies do recommend transition for adults with persistent gender dysphoria. So I don't view it as my place or our place to get in the way of that relationship. If that's what they want to do, if that's what will make them happy, who are we to second guess it? Who are we to tell them how to live their lives?
Ooh.
I don't want the government policing my wardrobe, my speech, what pronouns I use. I don't want the government telling me what I can believe, what I can say, how I can live my life. And if you don't want that, you have to respect that for transgender adults as well.
True.
All right, I'll start with a question for each speaker, and we'll have a medium free-flowing conversation moderated by my gavel. Mr. Palumbo, in your rebuttal, you were saying that your concern is about the efficacy of Mr. Knowles' approach. It's not popular. I'm curious both whether you think he's right and he should just be differently strategic in how he approaches it, and whether it's always ineffective to make an unpopular point plainly and honestly, or kind of as a feint. Should the anti-abortion, pro-life movement have responded to kind of the backlash after Dobbs by kind of hiding their commitment to a pro-life cause or by openly making the arguments?
Yeah, so I think it's both. I don't fully agree with Michael's positions, but also from a pure tactical position, I would say it's wrong to run on the opposite extreme. A good example of this is, you want to use the abortion context. I live in Michigan. We had a governor candidate there, Tudor Dixon, who ran on no abortion exceptions, no rape, no incest, life of the mother maybe.
What is this noise in the background?
It was every single ad, because that was a wildly unpopular position. And as a result, those are like 2% of abortions or whatever. You could have had a governor that would have worked to restrict 98% of abortions, and instead you have Gretchen Whitmer. So you're not going to convince me that just taking the most extreme position because it's honest or because you believe it fully, it's naive if your goal is to actually achieve change. I'm also, of course, just coming at it from a fundamentally different premise in which, look, I believe there's two biological sexes. They are immutable. But there's a lot that we attach to gender that is social. And if someone like Blair White, who I consider an acquaintance and am friendly with, if she wants to live as a woman, have surgery as she has, if that's what will make her happy, and she struggled with deep depression and mental issues, and then that helped, why would I object to that? And moreover, why would I embrace some sort of one-size-fits-all government approach that would legally force somebody with C-cup tits to use the men's room,
True.
And the boys' locker room? It doesn't make any sense.
I think the more concern you have for women, the less you should use the word tits on the stage. I mean it.
Oh my God. Did she really Lil Brome like that? Oh man, this is an ultra professional environment. Ew. Oh fuck. Fuck this. Yikes. Did she actually get mad? Yeah, she's actually ultra mad.
Less you should use the word tits on the stage. I mean it. Mr. Knowles, I know that you think that when someone asks you to address them by their pronouns, their preferred pronouns, they're asking you to lie to them or be complicit in a lie. But that's clearly not the only time that you believe you're asked to lie in a pluralistic society. And I don't usually see you going to Episcopalian churches to tell them you don't believe they're offering the body of Christ.
But I'm not asked to go to Episcopalian churches, mercifully.
Well, I was going to ask, why? But that's a higher stakes question for you, right? Where is Christ present? Where is he not? Why is this the issue where you want to bring the force of law, the force of your voice, to contest this disagreement?
This is school, right? Yeah, but this is probably a really professional setting, so you probably shouldn't use tits, I guess. But
many you have with your neighbors.
Well, because this one would appear to be exclusive. This one is inescapable. I can escape from the Episcopalian church down the street, and I don't attend it. I can escape from many liberal Catholic churches down the street, by the way, for that matter, and there's no problem. Nobody's forcing me to attend. But on the question here, women will have bathrooms or they won't. Women will have sports teams or they won't. And I will engage in conversation with people because we live in a society. We're not atomized individuals, and no man is an island entire of himself. So when I am to refer to somebody, especially as a matter of public life, if I am not permitted to refer to him as him and her as her, I am being forced to lie in my regular everyday life. Contrary to what Brad suggested, I am not a totalitarian, I'm not an authoritarian, I'm not against pluralism or whatever, but there are certain issues on which one side has to win and one side has to lose because they can't exist together at the same time. So Brad points out that Blair, who's a very nice guy, as I pointed out, might feel better by being allowed to go into a women's bathroom. I'm skeptical of that. None of the data, which I always think are ridiculous, but I'm happy to cite social science when it backs up my point. But all of the
Why would you say that even ironically?
data that we have suggests that there is no mental health benefit whatsoever from these sorts of surgeries and from the hormone therapies. So I'm skeptical that it would make him feel any better. But then I have to ask, what about the women? What about the women who would very much like to have their own bathrooms? Wouldn't that make them happy? Don't they have some rights?
I want to press you here because you're falling on the bathroom example when you've also talked about involuntary commitment. And I think on the spectrum of where the law intervenes, the bathroom is both kind of the least charged issue to kind of fall back on, and saying at a certain point of delusion, I think someone who disagrees with me on this issue should be confined. I want to hear you defend that point rather than the bathroom access.
Well, I think that what's very important here is prudence. This is one of those forgotten virtues that people in our highly ideological age think that we need to have a manifesto written in 5 bullet points on a napkin to answer every question. But for example, if someone is a man who has fallen into the transgender rabbit hole, and for him it is, as it historically has been for pretty much everybody, a sexual fetish, a paraphilia, cross-dressing that is largely driven by pornography today. But that man still understands that he's a man.
He went
This is
full
just a little weird thing
AGP.
that he does at home, and it makes him have a thrill, and okay, fine, we live in a fallen world. I wouldn't suggest we need to commit that man. But there is a spectrum here of irrationality and insanity. Let's call it what it is. And so if a man is convinced that he really is a woman, like in some of those viral videos we've all seen of the big burly man screaming in the bodega, my name is ma'am, and he's acting out in a way that is really disorderly and disrupting the public.
That
and
video
harmful
is
to himself.
wild.
For instance, if he wants to chop off his own healthy body parts and cause all sorts of destruction to himself, then I think not only is it the right of society to take some action here to restore order, but I think it's only compassionate for that person. I think it's a very selfish and shallow kind of liberalism that says that when people have mental problems, we ought to just let them out on the street, often to die of exposure or to go do drugs in some back alley in San Francisco. No, we owe them help. Brad asks, who am I to tell people what to do? Why would I use the force of government? We live in America. America is at least supposed to be a self-government. You're a citizen with faculties of reason and a moral conscience. You can perceive truth, and it is not only your right, but your responsibility to do so, to help your fellow countrymen.
I'll give you a moment. Yes, absolutely.
Can you explain, Michael, why you want the government to be the arbiter of truth, to decide what beliefs? I mean, I've lived through the government tell us there were WMDs in Iraq, lie to us every which way about COVID, and you are saying that the government and the people that run it should be an arbiter of truth and then should involuntarily commit and basically lock people up who don't meet their perception of the truth. Can you explain to me, as a matter of prudence, how that could possibly be a good idea?
Well, I'm not saying that the government is the arbiter of truth, of course not, but we have civil authority to establish and to enforce laws. And so we can either establish and enforce laws on the basis of pure will, a man who says, I very much want to be a woman, and so that's what we're going to do, completely divorced from reality and moral order, or we can establish and enforce laws as a matter of interpretation, to believe that there is such a thing as objective reality and a moral order and a natural law that we are then translating into the civil law. Traditionally, in our country and in all states, we have pursued the latter. In our age that now seems to be increasingly untethered from reality, where people will mock the very notion of objective truth, we say that cannot happen. But to my points earlier, the law will say something, inevitably. The government is not some foreign entity. We live in America where we have some say in our government, even still today, and the law must necessarily say something. Either the women get... the reason I keep going to the bathrooms is because it's just so clear, but you can use the sports teams, you can use...
I think the involuntary commitment one is relevant, though, because I think, this is not the level of force that Mr. Palumbo is worried about as worried about bathroom
I suppose,
rules.
right. I mean, bathrooms are smaller scale, but what I would say is that these issues are complicated, and they should be decentralized. Let a business decide their own bathroom policies. I've been to a lot of places in liberal cities that solve this by having single-stall, unisex bathrooms. Fantastic. Don't have a one-size-fits-all solution crammed on the whole
I'm going to
country.
stay on the commitment question for a second so Mr. Palumbo can field a question himself. Certainly the government does draw lines around some people who should be...
This is a really good debate. Both of the debaters are answering the questions pretty directly. The lady is being very firm and holding them to answers.
committed, whether due to risk to others or sometimes risk to themselves. I'm curious how you, Mr. Palumbo, feel the government should respond. Is it right to commit someone for treatment for anorexia, which does not put them as a danger to others, purely because we believe them to be a danger to themselves, to have a false belief about their body?
I think there has to be a very high threshold for civil commitment. We've seen it horribly abused in the past in this country. But I think it has to be a direct danger to themselves or others, right? Their physical safety. So trans or not trans, if somebody is a danger, a suicide risk, or if they're a threat to others, then we can discuss involuntary commitment. But what we're talking about here is essentially saying, well, we think somebody has deluded and wrong beliefs, so they should be locked up. I mean, that would have gotten that's the approach that had people wanting to lock up and kill Galileo, for daring to suggest that the Earth was not the center of the universe. I don't think we all know the truth. That's part of the process of discovering the truth. And let me just say, and I'm not saying this, but a large swath of the country thinks that the Catholic faith, believing in a God, is a deluded belief, is a delusion. Should they want to have you committed?
No, the majority of Americans still believe in God.
I don't think.
Maybe not in 50 years,
All right,
but
so
today is still
in the interest of the best use of this time, I'm going to have the Galileo fisticuffs happen outside. And
I will point out on that point that they did lock up Galileo, and they locked him up for being a jerk. It had nothing to do with his stupid scientific work.
Wait, why would you applaud that?
I would applaud it if they locked Galileo up for being politically taking chances that were imprudent. But what I want to ask here on this question for a moment is, when it comes to these questions, you've said it's hard to be sure, right? You've said, Mr. Palumbo, that you're not an expert in the science. Mr. Knowles, you've brought a number of citations with varying confidence in different ones. What is your greatest source of uncertainty for each of you right now about the current growth in transgender identification, in the roots of it, and what would you most like to know that you don't know now?
Well, I would just like to correct you, Leah. You've said that I've had varying degrees of confidence in the scientific studies. I have no confidence in any of them. I'm just citing them because they back up my argument.
What would you actually like to see studied?
Why would he say
kudos
that?
for honesty.
I think you're right that this is an issue that's been understudied because no one does a randomized controlled trial. That's true of a lot of things where we really care about the answer. So what would you most like?
You can't do an RCT for everything, right? Like you don't do RCTs for like parachutes. I don't know how you can do an RCT for like bottom surgery. Like, oh, you got the placebo. We actually just we tucked you really hard. Like
see studied in a scientific context that you think would help you and your opponents at the end of it have a better understanding of what's true?
I would most like to see this issue studied not through biology and not through some bizarre sociology course in a gender studies department, but through anthropology and through ontology and through philosophy. Because ultimately what this comes down to, I'm happy that all the scientific studies back up my view, but I wouldn't really care even if they didn't. Because the question is, what is the human person? The claim of transgenderism, it keeps moving, but the claim basically is that one's true self has nothing to do with one's body. So one can be in body entirely a man, but at some deeper metaphysical level, one can be a woman. And so the old way we used to talk about this would be the distinction between the body and the soul. And there's been a whole lot written about the relationship between the body and the soul. The conception that has dominated for at least 2,300 years in our civilization is an idea called hylomorphism, which is that body and soul are united, and sex derives from the body and is an inseparable accident of the individual that persists and applies to the whole person. So that's, to me, a fascinating conversation. Maybe eyes are glazing over here in the room. But the question that we're asking here is, what is a man? What is a woman? And I am not happy with even the conservative answer, which is a woman is a womb and 2 X chromosomes. I don't know what 2 X chromosomes are. If you told me that a woman is sugar, spice, and everything nice, that to me is a much more precise description, an accurate description of what a woman is. So I'm happy to have those conversations.
But I don't think that is the question. I think the question is who gets to decide. If you would have the government decide for everyone, and I would have people decide for themselves in their own law.
Let me ask you then, Mr. Palumbo. One question the government does make a decision on that arguably is a murkier question is, when is someone legally, morally, intellectually an adult? And that's
Jesus!
The government cannot remain silent. We write a lot of laws to draw a relatively sharp
The libertarian
line between
kryptonite.
children and adults, even though nothing magical happens on your 18th or 21st, or for the purposes of running for Congress, I think 25th birthday. But the law has to speak. So how do you think about when the law has to draw a distinction? How do you want it to draw it?
I think that 18 is an imperfect legal age of adulthood, but it's the one we have, and we should stick to it. You're either an adult or you're not. And once you're an adult, you have the full freedoms and rights and responsibilities that come with our society, and that should include living your life in a way that traditionalist conservatives don't approve of, think is wrong, think is gross, think is bad. But for minors, I think it is fair to talk about not nearly enough safeguards on this care. I question whether they can even consent to it
But
at
I think
all.
I have a better sense right now from Mr. Knowles about how he would work through the anthropological question of when should the law set that limit. You say you're comfortable with the current one. Are you comfortable with 19? if the country were with you?
I mean, it's inherently arbitrary. I would say it just has to be consistent. Right now, we kind of have a patchwork of things, like 21 for some things, 18 for some things, 17 for some things. I agree it will be fundamentally arbitrary. I just think it should be consistent. So it could be 18, it could be 19, it could be 21. What irks me is when it's inconsistent.
Well, what I'm asking you just for a moment is, there's the question of is it inconsistent and the question of is it correct? And I'm curious, what do you draw on to answer the question of is it correct? You're trying to draw them to some common number, but maybe you want that one to be right.
Yeah.
Where do you get your account of the human person to decide what it means to pass into maturity?
I think what we're talking about when we talk about a legal age of adulthood is your ability to fully understand what's going around you, your brain development, your ability to informed consent to something, right? And I don't have a great way of drawing the line that's not kind of arbitrary, but you do have to draw it somewhere.
I will allow Mr. Knowles the obvious.
Yeah, well, I don't think that one's view has to be arbitrary on this matter. I don't think my view is arbitrary. I just don't think transgenderism is true.
But we're talking about age. We're talking about age.
But this gets to age because for all of human history, pretty much no one has thought that the transgender idea really is true. And you don't seem to think that it really is true. It's interesting.
Well, I think I view it different. I have a different definition of it.
But here's the inconsistency that I find in your point. You say that when you turn 18, you ought to be able to chop yourself up and put on a dress and go into a women's bathroom, and putting aside the public issues that come from that. I just wonder how it is the case that transgenderism is false for the first 18 years and then suddenly becomes true when one turns 18. And if that is not what's really happening, if it is false and your trepidation in exposing children to this is because it obviously is false, if it's false and harmful for children, why is it beneficial and true for adults? Shouldn't we apply an even standard across the board and come to a conclusion?
So you often set this up as a dichotomy, but I think that it either has to be true for all or false for all. I think it's a false dichotomy. I think the issue is children cannot fully consent to the full consequences of a life-altering medical procedure. We're not even talking about social transition. I think if you have a persistent gender dysphoric 13-year-old and you want to have them socially transition, I think that's up to parents. Conservatives were just screaming yesterday about parental rights. I'm fine with that.
What about parental wrongs?
You should have the right, with only very, very high exceptions in extreme cases, to parent your kids rightly or wrongly. And it's not badly or well, except for extreme cases of abuse.
So I'd actually like you to draw that out for a second here, because I think the thing that we can all agree on in this room is that parents make life-altering decisions for and with their kids outside the question of gender. Mr. Knowles' choice to raise his children Catholic sets a mark on them that they may diverge, but they'll still have been raised Catholic in their beginnings.
But you can convert, you can't undo a lot of the medical transition things. It can permanently sterilize you for life.
So that's what I'm asking about a little. How are you thinking about what a parent can and cannot consent to on behalf of their child?
I think the same way a parent cannot consent to sex on behalf of their child. There's obviously a level of physical maturity you have to reach before you can make potentially life-altering decisions about your body. And so something like raising your kids Catholic, well, if your kid grows up and wants to become Jewish or an atheist, they can't undo a bottom surgery. Right? Not really. So that's why I draw that distinction. And I would just say, to Michael's point that it either has to be true for everyone or false for everyone, first off, we're talking about the government as an arbiter of truth or not. But also, we can have different standards for kids and adults. You can't get a tattoo as a child. You can't drink. You can't buy a gun. You can't go to our movie. You can have different standards.
You can take hormones if your parents wear you're too short as a child. And I'm curious whether you think that's something parents should consent to. Doctors will give you growth hormones if you're projected to be short enough that they worry it will impact your quality of life.
Yeah, I think there's a very different...
and it's permanent. It's not undoable.
Between that
the child
and, for
can
example,
kind of only guess so much what it's like to be an
precocious
adult.
puberty, right? When sometimes you'll have a rare case where a 7-year-old will start going through
So
puberty.
I want to unpack the difference between these two. Precocious puberty is slowing down something that will happen.
Right.
Choosing to give your child growth hormones is triggering a permanent change that cannot be undone. Do you think parents should be able to consult to growth hormones on behalf of their child when they're told their child will be very short? It's a choice parents make across the country.
I would say if there's not going to be life-altering harm and consequences for it, yes. But I mean, the difference is if you go through gender transition as a minor and never go through your natal sex as puberty, you often lose fertility for life. That's not quite the same thing as being a few inches taller or not.
Interestingly, the pitch is often, in some sense, about preserving future fertility insofar as the doctor worries being too short will inhibit your ability to find a spouse.
Well, that's a whole other issue.
All right. Mr. Knowles, I want to ask you the question that you aren't going to get asked by Mr. Palumbo because you're debating him rather than Ms. McCloskey. People report, and you disagree, that they have a different anthropology than you. They don't agree with your description of the soul. And what they say is, I see my child, I see them light up when they get to dress in the way they want. I see them feel more comfortable. Even aside from those longer-term questions, how can I as a parent be so sure when you tell me that when I see my child feel more comfortable, they're wrong and I'm wrong, when in anything else, if they signed up for Little League and it really fit for them, I would go with it, I would explore it, and your answer here is not. So how do you answer that sense of a parent's sense of their own child and that particular child's response to a transgender feeling?
I think this point by the phantom of Professor McCloskey is a very good one, because It would seem to me that what transgenderism is proposing is an anthropology. It's an idea about what human nature is. And so if it is true, then it is true for children, and I'm not using this to suggest we get rid of transing the kids. Ultimately, I think that, of course. But if it's true, then it would seem to me very cruel to prevent a child from transitioning, especially before puberty. Because if you can suppress a child's puberty, and then you can put them on cross-sex hormones, and then you can have the little boy look more like a little girl, he is going to much more successfully pass as the opposite sex than if he were to be put on these kinds of hormones and have these procedures much later. It would be much more expensive, it would be much more painful. And so if transgenderism is true, then I think we have to trans the kids. Now, it so happens that transgenderism is not true. And there are people who are in all various states of anxiety and depression and suicidality even, who have fallen into this confusion of transgenderism later on. And so just as I think it would be wrong to lead children who are behaving in an irrational way down this path, I think it would be quite wrong to do that to adults as well. Mr. Palumbo has conceded the point that at the extremes of anorexia, it would be fine to force feed somebody or force somebody.
I wish he knew like the talking point about how like there's a difference between like technically like a delusion versus like a feeling that one might be trans. Like we haven't really proved that trans is a delusion.
There are doctors today removing the healthy breasts of 14-year-old girls, so I think you can find a lot of quacks out there. In fact, there have been quacks who have performed this surgery, but none of us, I think, believes that we ought to chop off the healthy limbs of these very mentally ill people. So I just don't see why we wouldn't apply that down the line. Professor McCloskey's position is a consistent position, and it's consistently wrong. And I think that if we're going to be right here, we have to be consistently right. To Brad's point that he keeps saying, why would you want the government to do this? Why would you trust the government? I've said it before, I suppose I'll say it again. In the United States, we are the government. Even with all the corruption, we are the government. And if we surrender our capacity for reason and moral conscience, if we really say that we can't know the difference between true and false and right and wrong, then we're surrendering self-government. This is what John Adams meant when he said the Constitution's built for a moral and religious people. That wasn't soft soap and a nice platitude. He's saying that's how self-government works. If we surrender that, we lose the American project.
Mr. Palumbo, I do want to ask you the same question. What would you say to a parent who says, I want to take care of my child? Everything I see in my child's behavior, not just in what they tell me, but in the way they act when I address them in one way or the other, when I put them with one group of kids or the other, tells me they're happier this way and uncomfortable the other. But you say, I can't do this till they're 18. Why?
Well, to clarify, I'm okay with them socially transitioning.
But I think you know that that's not always where people want to stop.
I agree.
Right? So what would you say to that parent?
The reason that that is not appropriate is that child is too young to really consent to the life-altering possibilities of that, but two, going through puberty of your natal sex.
What happened?
Are we okay?
Some people were transitioning to the front rows, and so I think the security got a little worried about that.
Okay. I'll just start over.
So again, I'd like to ask the question again, because I think the reason the noises are so loud out there and the reason everyone got quiet when we saw someone moving is that people think the stakes of this question are high.
They are.
And that parents worry if they listen to you, Mr. Palumbo, and wait and act later, they may not be taking care of their child or loving their child as they are. So and it sounds like you're all right with them doing that later, but not earlier. And I think that's a big burden of proof for that question.
I understand completely, and that's why I think this is a really complicated issue. I don't envy a parent who has a child with severe gender dysphoria. I can see why they would be incredibly torn on what the right thing to do is. But what I will say is that it's actually the process of going through puberty as your natal sex that often causes gender incongruity to desist. So the problem is that now they go on puberty blockers, then they do cross-sex hormones. They never actually go. That's why previously, decades ago, when you had gender incongruent youth, many of them grew up to be gay men or lesbian women. And that was because when they went through their puberty, they reconciled their gender. They realized the things they were feeling didn't mean they were actually
trapped in the
wrong body.
Is there a point after a certain trial of puberty where you feel comfortable with a minor transitioning when they say, I've given it a good shot, Mr. Palumbo, like you said this works for some people, it doesn't work for me?
That's why it's so hard to have the government come in and set a one-size-fits-all rule. I have also said that, I think the age of consent should be 18, but in some states it's 16 or 17. It would make sense to me then that in those states you could also transition gender at 16 or 17. But I don't know exactly where to draw the line. And that's part of my point here, is that Michael keeps saying transgenderism is false. And if it is false...
He went the other way.
I don't believe the government should be in the business of banning false ideas. Michael's also said that transgenderism is a false religion. So then we want to ban religions. I'm wondering what happened to freedom of religion.
Damn.
What happened to freedom of speech?
Jesus.
And also, the average federal bureaucrat has the politics of Elizabeth Warren. And I know you can cite noble things about self-government, but the truth is we have a bloated bureaucracy that does not represent the American people. It is an entrenched political class with politics much different than yours. So the idea that we're going to make that government the arbiter of what ideas are true and false and ban or eradicate some ideas as a result of that seems to me not just a bad idea on principle, but incredibly short-sighted for people from your background and worldview and values.
Mr. Knowles, how do you think you would fare under a government that has the reach and, intimacy that you are advocating for?
I think I would fare fairly well because, well, I agree with Brad's point that we have far too many bureaucrats on the federal payroll. The recent upending of laws concerning sex and gender have come from elected and appointed officials. It's come from the Supreme Court, appointed by presidents. It's come from legislators in Charlotte, North Carolina, and all over the country. So it has been from representatives of the people and appointed officials who've been appointed by representatives of the people, and the people change their minds. That's one of the features of democracy. And so, unfortunately, the Supreme Court in 1973 decided that there was some imaginary right to abortion, and this error persisted for a long time. And then 49 years later, the court reversed that decision. In 2020, the Supreme Court made an error and decided to interpret civil rights law protections for sex as being protections for sexual orientation and gender identity, which ironically undermines civil rights protections for sex by allowing the men to play on those sports teams and go to the bathrooms. And so in this case, I know, Brad, you keep suggesting that I want this very narrow authoritarian totalitarian view. I don't. There are all sorts of questions where I'm happy to leave things pretty open, but on certain issues where only one side can establish its principle in society, we have to come to conclusions. And I would come to the conclusion that has prevailed for all of human history, not the one that cropped up 5 seconds ago.
So I want to push a little on what pressing on these questions and these distinctions means for kind of the stability of our democracy. Yep. Because it's one thing when losing power means, losing a little bit of ground on some parts of your agenda, the tax rates are set differently, more or fewer oil wells are drilled. And another thing when laws kind of seesaw wildly between administrations. Yep. That we have the kind of the gag rule on abortion. It's one example of a law that just gets flipped on and off every time the administration changes, and it feels like more and more laws are in that all or nothing executive order thing. It seems to me that makes every election feel apocalyptic.
Yes.
We get more of the Flight 93 talk, right? How do you see a way out or through
Flight
that?
93 talk? What does she mean by that?
Election means losing ground possibly permanently. It doesn't seem we can live alongside each other at all. We've already lost faith in democracy, kind of regardless of where we draw the line.
Or what is that? I don't know that phrase.
This is such an important point. And the reason that you've seen this kind of radical polarization where now we go topsy-turvy every election that we're able to win, for that matter. Sometimes the Democrats rule for a long time. The reason for that is because we no longer have shared norms and standards. And so the very thing that I'm arguing is a solution to this problem. The reason that our norms and standards have broken down is because half a century ago, leftist activists decided to upend our standards and norms in our culture to say...
Wait, hold on. No shot. Is this a real account? Oakland/Squirrel Hill Zone 4 police station possibly being set on fire by protesters. Is this where this debate is happening? Also, this sounds like a Sonic level. Pittsburgh scanner. Guy with a scanner. Or why are you linking me this? What is this? Is that where this debate is happening?
That having any standards or norms at all would be authoritarian and anti-American. And so what happened...
Why did you say... Oh, I might have had the chance to do this debate, but I was traveling. I didn't have time to, set it up because the dates were too close. Because I had just gotten back from Tennessee. I wasn't sure yet. But they needed an answer, a lot. It didn't work with my schedule. But also, originally, I don't know if Knowles was going to be the person there either, too. So I probably would have moved around more if I had the chance. Oh, this debate was in Pittsburgh. There's no way these two things are related, right? Do you think that this is happening because of this debate? There's no way, right?
What happened was the left...
Let's go. I didn't know it was going to be Michael Knowles. Actually, hold on one second. Okay, just permaban. Move on. Easy.
Pushed their radical new standards. In the 1950s, the 1940s, you could read the Bible in schools, you could not read pornography in schools. Today, you cannot read the Bible in schools, you can, and in some cases are assigned to read pornography in schools. It's not a battle of more freedom or less freedom, it's a battle of what standards are we going to have, what taboos are we going to have. And so what happened, especially in the 60s, is the left knocked down all of the old standards. They insisted upon their standards in their place, and the conservatives lost the ability to even speak about standards, to even speak about the good, the true, and the beautiful, the common good, what's true and false. And as a result, the left has totally upended things. But I think if we can reassert a sensible vision, then things will go less topsy-turvy.
I'm going to indulge my nerdery for 1 second, then pose a last question to you two, then we'll take questions from the audience. Mr. Knowles, do you really think this is a question of the left pushing, or more of what Alistair McIntyre describes as just the losing, for many people, including conservatives, of a sense of where order comes from, till we don't have a language to speak together? Not one side putting forward new norms, but all sides nearly losing touch with what gives rise to their norms that they learn kind of habitually from their community without learning them from the roots up?
Well,
because I think you're blaming just one side here, and I don't know that I believe you on that.
No, I blame both of those things, but I think one is a consequence of the other. If not entirely a consequence, largely a consequence. Why are people not in touch with the basis of order and truth? Might it have something to do with the fact that left-wing activists booted the Bible out of schools? Why is it that people don't have a solid formation about the grounding of our government and our public life? Might it have something to do with the fact that a judge decided that preachers can no longer speak about political things, that religion now has to be merely a private matter for the inner closet of your own consciousness rather than a matter of public life? To me, these are not separate questions. And I point to the left because they have been so conscious and intentional about this kind of a strategy, and because the feckless conservatives bought on with the logic. There's a line from William F. Buckley Jr., who's very important to this organization, that I always come back to from God and Man at Yale. And he was quoting a liberal, actually, who said it. And he said, skepticism has utility only when it leads to conviction. It's nice to have a big open society, but sometimes people's minds are so open that their brains fall out. A poem is beautiful because of its limits and its constraints.
Destiny
we are
fan.
Beings, and so we can't be all things to all people because then we're not anything to anyone.
Can I just hop
Yes,
in
you
and
may.
say something?
Give him a bit of time there, yes.
Yeah. So you say that you want the truth, the freedom to speak the truth and the good and the beautiful and everything else. But at the same time, I mean, you'd toss up and rip up the First Amendment to stop drag queens from reading books to kids.
The First Amendment doesn't protect that.
It does.
It doesn't. The First Amendment from the beginning of our country has not protected whole scores of speech. Obscenity, notably, in
It
this
is
case.
not obscene. So first of all, you could ban all sexual performances, drag or not, from having minors, and I would support that. But to have a fully clothed...
So you'll shred the First Amendment?
No, that is obscenity. There's a very clear standard of what obscenity is. And
agree.
a fully clothed person, who is simply dressed in the attire of the other gender and wearing makeup, reading books to children, is protected by the First Amendment.
Brad, for much of our country's history, cross-dressing was illegal. Throughout
We
the
had
country,
the
including
Alien
in San
Sedition
Francisco.
Acts. We had slavery just because we didn't always live up to
We
the
still have
values.
one of the Alien Sedition Acts. That's
But they're not
for another
enforced.
time.
But so I'm saying just because we had things in the past doesn't mean they're actually consistent with our rights and values.
I suppose what you're saying, though,
True.
Brad, is, Michael, your view is anti-American, and it's not consistent with the First Amendment. And what I'm pointing to is the people who wrote the First Amendment, the people who ratified the First Amendment, the people who lived in a country under the First Amendment for the vast majority of our country's history, they all agreed with me. And people in very recent times have started to pervert the meaning of the First Amendment to kind of agree with your
The people who wrote the First Amendment also wrote the Alien and Seditions Act.
So now you're saying the First Amendment's no good.
But the text of the Constitution and the principles outlined are what's important, not the imperfections of the people that drafted
a little bit
them.
about where you see those principles and what they lead to. Because I think there are two ways to interpret what we want out of free speech, and I know which side Mr. Miller stands on, so he's not getting the questions. One is that free speech, open discourse, is a good in and of itself, possibly to avoid coercion or too large a government that would be needed to suppress speech. But the other view, which is the view I know Mr. Knowles holds, so he's not going to need to respond to this one, is that the reason we want freedom of speech is to arrive at truth, in the same way that we want peer review in scientific journals, not so that there's ultimately a panoply of voices, but so that by hearing everyone out, we wind up with one voice speaking one thing that is true. And I'm curious, for you, Mr. Palumbo, do you see the point of free speech as an end in itself of protection from coercion, or as a tool to slowly gravitate towards one thing that is true, and free speech is a tool that gets us there, but not the good we are pursuing?
So I definitely reject the utilitarian view of free speech. Now, I think to some extent both can coexist, in that I think the best ideas do win out over time, and that sunlight can be a strong form of disinfectant. But there is utility in and of itself of letting man be free to say wrong and false things.
And
That
tell
is
me
the kind of
tell me
society.
about what you like about that, because you rejected one version of it. So what is the good you see in doing that?
That's the most fundamental aspect of what if you're not free to speak, you're not free to think. Right? That is one of the most fundamental things about humanity.
I'm going to press one more time, just because for the interest of time, I'm going to do it more briefly than I know Mr. Knowles would. What is the good of being free to think?
To explore and find the best ideas, in part, but also
Careful.
to fulfill the human experience. That's what life is learning and making your way through the world and deciding what you believe. And if you're not free to think and you're not free to speak, you're not able to do that. So it's like the idea of, for example, coerced morality isn't really morality, right? Because if people are doing the right thing or believing that, for example, like everyone's very loyal to Kim Jong-un in North Korea, but there's not actually much value in that loyalty because it's done at the threat of death.
A lot of value for Kim Jong-un.
All right, at this point...
And you would like to be Kim Jong-un.
Do you? I don't think I would.
On the narrow issue
wouldn't look
of
as good in the suits.
transgenderism.
I don't think I would.
I have more questions, but since I am not Kim Jong-un, I will not be a tyrant and use the time for questions. I want to look a little at the eye because we have a mic over in the corner. Is the plan for people to approach the mic? Just to check, since it's tucked in the corner. I want to remind people that the best way of asking your question is to have it formed very clearly in your mind before you step up, to give other people the best chance of also asking theirs. Questions should be 3 to 5 sentences, brief to the point, because I want as many voices to be heard here as possible. So, questions from the body.
Hey, thanks for coming, guys. I've been a fan of both of you for a long time, mostly Brad, though.
Hey, there's one. We got one.
So the reason I'm a libertarian is because government is inherently a monopoly on violence that will always further accumulate more wealth and power no matter what you do. So having said that, my question is for Michael. As the size of government has grown, so has the acceptance of alternative or degenerate lifestyles on a systemic scale. Culture and the legal system reflect this. How can you recognize this fact while believing that simply using the state to fight this behavior in the legal system will lead to the necessary cultural change to eradicate it from public life?
Well, the government hasn't just grown. I guess that's the misconception at the heart of this. Yes, obviously, we're a much bigger country now, 330 million people. The federal government is much more powerful than it was some 200 years ago. But in other ways, the government has weakened. In other ways, the ability of local governments to control their own communities and set standards, that's weakened considerably. The ability of school boards to set curricula now is quite controversial. The rights of states have completely gone away. The states essentially have no real power anymore if they ever disagree with the federal government. So once again, I don't think this is an issue just of government getting really big or government getting really small. Conservatives have never supported small government. It's not possible for a country of 330 million people with a global empire to have a small government. What we can have is a limited government. So we want government to be within its natural and proper limits. And so when we're talking about the limits of the government, especially in a self-government such as ours, we have this question: do we have the political right to set certain standards? Are our rights merely the individual licenses to pursue whatever delusional and depraved sexual identities that we want to pursue, or any other kind of fantastical ideas? Or do we have an exalted freedom that will suppress some of our lower appetites, but will give us a flourishing community? That latter idea was the idea that has animated our country, that made our country great, made our whole civilization great. As we've lost that, the government's gotten all out of whack, as you described, and the country's gone to pot.
That was an admirably concise question. I'd ask you both to kind of imitate questioners in concise.
That was a less admirably concise answer.
Just to get as many as possible. We'll go to the next one. I'll throw a dichotomy as we go. America is too large to be justly governed, yes or no?
America is not too large to be justly governed. There have been plenty of empires that have been justly governed.
Dichotomy.
Well, I'd suggest we should maybe be doing a little bit less of the worldwide empire part.
Fair enough.
Sure.
But also, I would say it is too large to be governed by one large federal government, and that's why it should be decentralized as much as possible.
Next question from the students.
Thank you guys both for coming. As an aspiring journalist, political content creator, you guys have been keeping me busy over the last couple weeks. I appreciate that. I'm a senior at Point Park University. It's probably about 15 minutes from here. The school made headlines last year for their implemented pronoun mandate, saying that if students told you what their pronouns are and you didn't abide by that you can get in trouble through administration. It being a private university, how do you recommend not only fighting back against that rule, but having students who are mainly liberal on that campus kind of see your side of that argument?
The university is obviously very liberal, and so they probably buy into all sorts of student governance kind of silly policies. So you could try to get some power and wield it that way. But as you point out, it's a school. It has the right to set its own standards, especially as a private university. It can do that. And so ultimately, if you can't persuade the administration to do it, you might have to seek out a community that's more reasonable, and that very likely will provide you with a better education if the school that you're attending doesn't know the difference between men and women.
Yeah, I think I agree with Michael. They're a private school. They can have stupid anti-free speech policies if they want, but I think you should transfer.
Holy capos. Oh, we caught up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. My bad. Mr. Palumbo, it's awesome that you could come here on such short notice. How much did they pay you to do it?
A lot.
Sorry,
I can't get a dollar amount.
One question per participant.
Yeah, sorry, that's your question.
Leah, could I have a follow-up, though?
They were offering quite a bit. Probably, my guess is going to be more than he's ever gotten for an appearance before, and probably more than maybe what he would even normally get for an appearance. Maybe. Knowles is pretty big, but I don't know why she's asking. Maybe to see if these guys are like sellouts or something, but...
Follow-up, are you getting paid more than me? Because we have to talk about this afterward. This is...
I'll go Give numbers? No, why the fuck would I leak and never get invited to do any of these speeches?
Hi, I'd like to say thank you so much to Michael, for coming out. It's been a real pleasure hearing you speak. My question actually goes to both of you, though. So it's been, I know with you, Brad, you argued about with the age of 18, that's kind of the accepted limit of when someone becomes an adult, and then you said that's when they should be allowed to, go through gender reassignment surgery. My question is, at what age what age should we define as when one becomes an adult, and should it then be allowed to ban this type of surgery up until that age, or just ban it entirely?
Certainly, we can have an age to buy cigarettes, which they unfortunately raised recently. Now it's 21 to even buy a cigar. But, it could be 18 to do this, 21 to do that, or the other thing. But more importantly, even once one reaches those ages of maturity, the question is, can certain behaviors be banned? And the answer for all of American history, including today, is yes. Even if these are not issues that directly affect somebody else, yes, they can. Destructive, harmful behaviors can be outlawed. That's why we have laws against heroin and lots of other drugs. That's why we have laws against suicide, still in most states in this country. And that's why we have had laws and ordinances against the kind of transgender transition and surgery. Because we can know something about reality. That's the premise of our government. And we can know that even adults sometimes fall into very destructive habits. And because we're all living together in society, if enough people fall into something like the addiction of heroin, then we won't have a true liberty in this country. We'll have merely licentiousness, which is really just a form of slavery. So we can do that. We have done that for most of American history. And that remains very much still a possibility in America unless the libertines get their way.
Yeah, so I think the question is not so much can we or can we not restrict this.
It's should we.
Should we?
True.
And I would just say, do you want your own life restricted? Do you want government officials writing rules about what clothing you're allowed to wear? I mean, I think of it, the COVID experiment reminded to me the importance of bodily autonomy and medical freedom. I don't understand how people can, on one hand, and I'm assuming some of Michael's positions here, but rail against COVID vaccine mandates, be outraged that the government would tell you you have to take an injection, and I was, but then also think the government should be able to tell you whether or not you can take testosterone pills. Be outraged at the idea of being forced to wear a mask, but think the government should be able to tell you you can't dress a certain way in public. To me, there's a total cognitive dissonance here. I want to live in an America where adults, as long as they're not hurting anybody else, can live their lives how they see fit. Michael apparently wants to live in a sort of majority rules type of you'll live your life the way the majority of people think you should America, which again isn't going to work out for a minoritarian social conservative faction in a country that's becoming more pro-LGBT, becoming less religious, becoming less traditionalist. It's just not going to work out well for you.
I want to we've had a lot of time for us. More questions from the crowd.
Oh, I have such good points to make.
You both get concluding remarks.
That's true.
Yeah.
Can I stand up?
Who's talking?
Hi, Michael Knowles.
Hello.
So thank you for persisting and coming to speak here despite multiple setbacks. As someone who is conservative and as a devout Catholic who would like to eventually become a commentator for the Daily Wire, similar to your young colleague, Brett Cooper, would you recommend I start posting YouTube videos about my commentary on YouTube or to gain an audience and traction, or just email Ben Shapiro to ask him if I can have my own show, or how should I begin my career as a commentator?
I'm going to add an addendum to that question, since I'm also Catholic. What prayer rule of life would you suggest for someone who's going to enter into media? I mean it.
The St. Michael prayer about 24 times a day. Really great question. If you're a friend of mine, I would not recommend emailing Ben Shapiro. That's not going to be the right move. What I would recommend for you is that you get a little bit of political experience. If you want to be a political commentator, I would recommend you get a little bit of political experience. You can work on a campaign. That's actually a great way to get political experience, to know what it's like on the ground and not just what the news says. I would recommend you read everything. The reason I recommend you read everything is because you're young, you're vibrant, and I'm sure you're very well educated, but your views will change as you become educated, and it's a real pity when people become well-known at a young age and they say very stupid things and then they come to regret those things later on. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. As for the prayer life, I'm pretty simple about it. I would recommend a nightly rosary, and very simple. I mean, for people,
the whole thing?
For people who are interested in the faith, I always think, oh, you could read Thomas Aquinas, you could read St. Augustine, you could read all these wonderful people, and I recommend G.K. Chesterton too, all these people. But pray the rosary, and the other thing I would recommend, I'm not even being cheeky here, is I would recommend praying the St. Michael prayer. It's against all the evil spirits who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. So.
And against our own temptations to wrath, contempt.
Yes. No, this, I hate to add another 30 seconds here, but the other night, it was during Lent, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about
No, actually, sorry, I can't allow this. Look at the hands. Look at the hands.
All right. I'll
All
suppress
right.
my wrath even more, I guess. All right.
All right. Can we have another question from the audience? There we go.
Thank you. As I've been listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that I'm hearing that there's two different ideologies.
Takes 30 minutes to do a full rosary. I'm sure you could do it probably in less than 15 minutes.
More of a relativistic ideology.
But it's still, fuck that.
Mr. Knowles, it sounds more of this basis that there's a truth that is real and that everyone can discover. So that
when you're actually doing the rosary, okay, you're not doing like Hail Mary, full of grace. It's like Hail Mary, full of grace. Our Father, like that's like, come on, let's be real. Who's enunciating every fucking word on the full fucking rosary? Who has time for that bullshit? All right.
The question of
what if he was meaning all 20 decades? What is there like an extended DLC rosary? I thought a rosary only had 5 decades. Am I retarded? I don't. What the fuck? Hold on. What kind of rosaries do you motherfuckers have? Do you loop around it over and over again? Are you lapping like fucking forcing?
The thought that maybe the real question should be, what is truth? Otherwise, it seems like the conversation just keeps going back and forth without finding a tangible outcome. Do you think this topic can be decided before answering the question, what is truth?
Mr. Palumbo, to you first.
Yeah, I think I'd push back on the idea that I'm like a relativist. I mean, that I don't believe every person, like, I hate the phrase like your truth, or I do think there is a truth. I think we're all imperfect and unable to perceive the perfect truth. And I guess what I'm arguing is not that there is no truth, but just that the idea of having society or the government top down decide what the truth is and impose it on all of us is antithetical to what I see as human discovery and flourishing, but also to the actual discovery of getting closer to the truth. Because when what is believed to be true is forced on people and different ideas, wrong ideas mostly, are suppressed, that actually leads to less discovery of getting closer to the ultimate truth. That's what we see. That's why things that were considered complete conspiracy theories a year or two ago are now like, oh yeah, that probably happened. And so that's why I would say it's not that I don't believe there is a truth, it's that I believe that decentralizing truth-seeking is the best approach to get us as imperfect beings closer to it.
And that is what we aim to do in this debate. We're nearing the end of our time. I want to give you time for your last roundup since I've cut you off and you've saved those all up for a rapid fire.
May I answer this question, though, that was raised?
Sorry.
I wonder, Brad, if you see the irony in insisting upon your view of society, which is the view that says we can't have standards and we can't use the government and society to impose rules. Because my preferred society is the society in America that we've had pretty much for our nation's history, and it's the view that says that we can set standards and women can have bathrooms and we can just have norms and we can behave in a normal way. And what you're saying is, Michael, that's authoritarian, and so I, the great liberator, I am going to insist that none of you have those standards and those norms.
No, you can have those standards in your community, in your church, in your school, in your business.
Local.
What you can't do is tell the
Enforce
rest
it
of
with
the
the
world
government,
how to
yeah.
live.
You just said I can have it in my community.
Yes.
Okay, so we can have it in my community, but not
As
in someone
your-
else's community.
As in your
I don't, what does that
community
mean?
in terms
Someone
of
else?
a private community.
You should have said yes.
There's no private community.
What
The
is your
community's public.
What is your church? Your church is a community.
But my community is Nashville, Tennessee.
All right,
my
well,
state
that's
is
your
Tennessee.
city,
My country
and I
is
don't
America.
think your city can declare one correct view of the truth for all its residents. I mean,
But
there's
it
plenty
does.
of
It has
countries
laws.
you could live in that do those kinds of things. But
But all states are like that because all states have laws and they declare certain things true and others false, and some licit and some illicit. That's what statecraft is.
But that's typically done where the intersection of rights occurs, where one person's right to swing their fist ends where another person's face begins. Not when it comes to questions of individual beliefs being policed by
Like
the
who
state.
gets to go into a bathroom?
Well, who owns the bathroom?
True.
You don't own the bathroom.
What about
I
the
don't own
government?
the
What about the
bathroom.
military bathrooms and the school bathrooms?
The military, it can have its policies about.
But that's the government. So what's the
Well,
government going
obviously
to say?
the government has to have its own policies, but that's quite different than telling everybody.
I think I'll pause us here for a moment because I think you've exposed the fundamental rift here. I'm going to give my last question, then we'll have your closing thoughts so people can get home. It's a very short question.
See, now you know how it feels, Leah. You see that?
Just do it. I'm not in a rush.
I would just like to know, for your own later things which you can weave into your closing thoughts if you choose, there are a lot of people out here tonight who think, frankly, both of you are pretty seriously wrong on this issue. And even if you're right here, many of us have something where we later realize we've been wrong and we've harmed people as a result of being wrong. And I'm curious what you think is most helpful to you in realizing where you've been wrong on other issues. But you may give your closing thoughts, and that is merely a suggestion, not gavel enforced. But I think this is an issue like abortion where people think, in good faith on both sides, the stakes are very high, and it's hard to be patient when you think lives are at risk. All right, you get to go first.
I'll answer your question as I walk to the lectern. Personal humility is helpful, and deference to the tradition is probably wise. But now I have to walk back to get my closing remarks, Leah. You can't fool me by having me only answer your question. All right. Wonderful night. Thank you so much to everybody. It's especially a wonderful night because on the precise topic of the debate, my opponent, Brad, seemed to concede a fair bit of it before we began, that the government should in some ways regulate transgenderism. This is great. My first opponent dropped out, so this is a great debate. This is my favorite one I've ever been part of. The law, as we have shown, must regulate transgenderism because transgenderism contradicts the understanding of man and woman long established in our law. Even the most tolerant society cannot simultaneously uphold
Who dropped?
mutually contradictory
There was like a
Either
professor that
women
we were
get
supposed to
their own
debate before
bathrooms
this.
or they don't. Private enterprise can't solve the problem because the practical implications of transgenderism extend far beyond private business. The law cannot evade the question, QED. Before we go, though, I would like to look a little bit further and ask how the law should regulate transgenderism. We have two options. Embrace transgender anthropology, which is to deny the natural distinction between men and women, or to restore the understanding of sex that accords with reason and reality and which civilization has embraced for all of history. Not a tough choice to me. The law most basically is an ordinance of reason for the common good promulgated by the one who has care of the community. When law becomes unreasonable and untethered from reality, society flounders as we see increasingly today. We will live according to some standard or another. The only question is whether we'll live in accordance with truth or falsehood. We will summon the confidence to assert the truth, which we can know through our reason and conscience, without which faculties self-government would be impossible, or we will shrug our shoulders like the cynic Pontius Pilate and ask that question we just heard, what is truth? We have seen the rotten fruit of cynical politics. As a citizen in a self-governing republic, I say we ought to live according to the truth, which sets us free and which offers the only path to a flourishing society for everyone. Thank you very much.
The debate we're having here tonight really fundamentally comes down to what kind of a society we want America to be. Do we want to be a pluralistic and classically liberal society where people of different beliefs and values can live side by side? Or do we want to fight in an ever intensifying struggle, a tug of war over the state, to be used to crush minority viewpoints and force conformity, force people to live how others see fit? I know which one I would like, and I would humbly suggest that the viewpoint of those conservatives...
What's going on? We're about to watch somebody die?
I would humbly suggest that the viewpoint of those conservatives who wish to regulate transgenderism out of existence is incompatible with that fundamental view of America as a place where each person can chart their own way in life as long as they're not hurting anybody else. I also would just reiterate that it's remarkably short-sighted. 30% of America identifies as socially conservative. If you guys really don't want to leave space for different lifestyles, for unpopular viewpoints, that is not going to go well in a democratic society. So if this newfound flavor of authoritarian-style conservatism gets its wishes, it won't just be betraying some of the principles that make America great, it will be setting the stage for its own destruction. And frankly, that destruction will be deserved.
Damn.
Thank you.
Oh, a lot of the fans here were Knowles tonight. Interesting. Damn. Apparently there's like huge protests going on in that city right now. I can't believe I got this. This is for physical damage. I'm so stupid that I put this on my fucking mage. You ever do a debate in this professional style? I don't know. It's really hard to balance out. Like, this was like a high quality conversation, but they're also a little dry. But and they also usually they lack good back and forth. It's usually just people preaching to the audience. This one wasn't though. These guys did a really good job at responding to it. This was a pretty high quality conversation on this particular topic. Way more high quality than I expected it to be, I think. So good on these guys, I guess, both of them. Do you think Knowles is a hack like Shapiro? Did I say that Shapiro is a hack? Is Shapiro a hack? Shapiro is super partisan. Knowles is pretty partisan as well. Shapiro is probably a better version of Knowles. But Shapiro is still definitely like hardcore politically partisan. Like I think that's probably undeniable. What's a hack? I would consider a hack to be like somebody who's like blatantly politically partisan, which both those guys probably are. Like Shapiro and Knowles are never going to give a take that surprises you, I don't think. Did you see Dominion settled with Fox News? Yeah, for what, like $800 million I saw, I think? Yikes, fam. Not a good fam to lamb, I'm going to be honest with you. Would you approach a debate with Shapiro and Knowles differently? Yeah, it would have to be a much more formal affair, like with a bigger academic approach. Like this was pretty academic, I think. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I think it's fine. It's just something I'd have to keep in mind. I meant differently between you two. Would you approach debating Knowles differently than Shapiro? Oh no, it'd probably be pretty similar for both, I would imagine. Jesus, why do they all come from one side? I probably need like a seer, huh, to start pushing shit back. Or do I need an end to recruit somebody right now? 0 to 1. No, look at this shit now, I guess. Oh shit, I can make 5 of these. I just realized I can't make 5 of these. It's for all of these buildings are included. I'm so stupid. Fuck it. Yes, we saw the Twitter hack from the protest. Jesus. Apparently they were setting on fire like an effigy of Knowles outside on the ground. Pretty fucked up. Hold on, I'll be back 1 sec. I think I'm talking to that Tory chick for a sec. I don't know what she wants to talk about, but I'm not sure. Somebody I talked to like 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 months ago or something. I'm not sure. 1 sec. They drew a Hitler mustache on it. Jesus Christ.
I'm watching for quite some time. Keep up the good work. VGGL.
True. Be right back.
You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Imagination. Life is your creation.
Which mod kicked Jidion? Wait, really? Wait, how can you tell? I have a mod, there's like a moderation. Fuck, there's a moderation room, but I don't know how to read it. Oh my god. Okay, hey, what's up? What do you want? Read audit log Discord settings. Where's audit log Discord settings, Cake? Where the fuck is that?
I can't hear anything. Why?
Nice, good one. Dots near top of server banner. I don't know where that is. Server settings? Audit log. Oh.
Why is it so weird?
Hi, what's up? Wait, can I see who got removed? It says Forethought disconnected one user from voice. Did Forethought really kick Jidion? It was a meme. But to crack the whip, boy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. In a video game. Come on, guys. In a video game.
This is so weird.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Oh, sounds like she can't. Hello, hello.
I'm done. Today. Want to take full advantage of just what? I have to download that?
What is she? Oh my god, she's using the web page.
External. Hello, everybody. I don't know how to pop up.
I don't
on
understand how people. She doesn't know how to like do Zoom or anything. I don't understand how people like do a living or have like shows online, but they don't know how to like do any programs. What is happening? What is
something supposed to pop up for me? Because I can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
Are you using the
Should
program
I
or
download the app?
the web page?
Are you using the program or the web page? The web page.
Oh God. Oh God. Can you just?
You should download. Oh God.
Should we use Zoom or something, or send me like a Hangouts link, or what do you normally use? What do you use?
Use Ecamm. I'll just.
What the fuck is
It's fine. I'll
Ecamm?
create a link and send it to you. Sorry. I just didn't want that person to see it. Just give me 2 seconds.
What is Ecamm? Wait, is that what fucking Kidology uses? What? Where do people even find out these programs?
Don't yell at me. I feel like I'm being yelled at.
Hello?
I don't know.
Oh, she
Because
can.
I can't hear anything.
I am yelling at her, and she does deserve it.
Na-na-na-na-na. It's loading. Slowly. Sick. Hey. Got it. Happy, damn it. Sorry.
Oh my God! Did I really start too far forward?
I want to copy.
She can't copy paste. Oh no.
You can. Got it. Ta-da!
What is this
I hate
godforsaken
myself.
fucking
I'll
program?
go live now.
Oh my
And then
God.
when you just join, I'll add you in. Yay. I still can't hear anything though.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
Okay, this is obviously a me problem. Hello.
Hello.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Holding.
Why can't I hear you?
Test, test.
Keep talking.
Bro, this shit is so laggy. Holy shit.
What did I do?
What are we in right now? It's a Mac thing? I thought Mac and
Yeah,
PC use like the same programs now. What year is it?
Keep talking.
Talking. Hello. Talking.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
System
Oh, that gave me Mr.
Yeah,
Mooten flashbacks. Right.
good.
I remember Mooten.
It says. That's really bad. Okay, I got an idea.
Yeah?
Oh, I'm a dumb bitch. I'm a fucking dumb bitch. Got it.
Uh-oh. Don't let Lav hear that. Oh, shit. Wait, hello?
Why?
Never mind.
Hello.
Sorry. I was talking to my stream. What's up?
Give me 1 second.
No problem, bro.
Came and see. Sorry it took me so long.
You're good. No worries.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm doing great. What fucking program are you using? Why?
Ecamm?
Yeah, what is that?
It's like a professional one, but I don't know how to use it at all.
Okay,
So-
there's like, I'm just so curious, okay? Because there's like 50 million like normal programs that like normal human beings use, like Google Hangouts or Zoom or Discord or even Skype.
Yeah.
Why? What is this abomination of a program that you stumbled into that is so difficult to set up? Why?
It's not difficult to set up. It took me 2 seconds. I just got a new laptop, so I'm having a hard time copying and pasting. So I like couldn't copy the link. But it's this is what a lot of producers use. There's apparently a lot of stuff you can do with it. I just don't know. Can you see the chat and stuff? Well, duh. Yeah, you can see yours. I don't know. People always say that it shows up weird for them.
Well, right. The problem right now is that it's very laggy. Or is my
Oh,
audio
do you
laggy?
have- No. Do you have it on higher than 720?
Is that
Yeah,
gonna? If I have it on higher than 720, is that gonna make it laggy?
A little. Everybody always gets so annoyed with. Don't look at it, cause you're fine on my end. Let me double check with my chat.
Okay. Listen, we're fine. Listen, everything is A-OK. All right, what's up? How you doing?
Okay, good. So I don't know if you caught that episode that I did with Jubilee, but did you see it?
Which one was
Not
that
yet.
again?
It was recent. Anti-feminist and male feminist. It was chaos, let me tell you.
Fuck, did we watch that? I don't remember if we did or not. Did we, guys?
It's a long one. It was like an hour. But
Okay. I don't
there's
remember.
there's
But-
a dude, Mason.
Wait, before we hop into this,
Yeah.
introduce yourself for people that don't remember who you are.
Your chat scares the fuck out of me. Hi, I'm Tori, and I make YouTube content. Why'd you have to make me do an intro?
Well, what do you? Oh, don't. I don't care if nobody finds your shit. Do you do this full time or what?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, don't you want people to find you? Don't you want to get more followers and shit? Isn't that kind of the point?
No, I don't really care.
You do this as a job and you don't care how many followers you have?
Yeah, no, not really. Why? Were you always looking at your followers and stuff?
Yeah, I'm trying to make a fucking living over here. Of course I care about how many followers I have. It's kind of important to our job, no?
Well, I do like content for other creators too, so that's kind of like now how I pay everything. But yeah, I probably subscribe to my channel, y'all.
There you go. Okay, that's a little
Yeah.
better. Jesus.
Torsha, 2 A's. I make red pill content.
Nice.
Cringe. We call it RP over here.
Cool.
I don't like
Me
saying
too,
red
because I
pill.
figure all you guys are fucking role players, because none of this shit is real. I'm just kidding. Okay, what do you want to talk about?
Is
Go.
that
Jubilee.
is that like an NPC? Same thing.
What? Sure, why not?
Because that's how we feel about you guys with your feminist manifesto and shit.
Right, my blue hair and all that. Good. I'm glad.
No, the blue hair's fine.
Oh, thanks.
Anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me grab my list. So anyways, if you haven't seen the thing, long story short, Mason, a dude that was on the cast who transitioned, so female to male, he's
Okay.
going to come on my show. And I got in my head about the patriarchy, and I've been trying to dig into it, but everything that I find is all basic level shit. And I'm just wondering, like, can you explain it to a red pill bitch what the patriarchy is? Because it sounds bizarre to me. It sounds bizarre. I'll tell you why. Because all it is to me is a guy that's in charge. And I guess in certain institutions, a man's always at the top, right? But why is it that they're
in
Yeah.
the broadest sense, the patriarchy, the idea of patriarchy is just that society is kind of organized by and for men.
Got it.
In the
Okay.
broadest sense. So at the end of the day, everything should serve the interests of men.
Well, wait. How? Why? Where do you get that conclusion?
Don't attack me. That's
I'm not
you
I'm
asked
not
me what the
attacking.
patriarchy is. I told you. Well, actually, I probably do believe that too. Okay, what do you mean by that? How do I get that conclusion? Yeah.
So, like, here's the way I see it: is that we have it set up the same way that we had it set up before the technological advances. So we just held on to it. It wasn't like we want to oppress women. I
Sure,
don't
it doesn't
see
have to be
that way.
intentional. It could just be that way.
Okay.
That society has worked with a women being oppressed. It's not like people are like, we hate women, so let's oppress them. It was just
Right.
like men tended to sit on the top of the hierarchy and they oppress women because that's based, I guess.
So then, feminists that want to dismantle the patriarchy, where do they expect men to go? I know that
to
sounds
not
kind of
be-
wild.
They basically would, the expectation would be a society designed with more equity where it's not only trying to satisfy the whims or desires of men.
I feel like society is against men.
That's because you're
That's
a
a-
red pillar.
No, like, to be honest with you, it seems like, can you give me examples of how men dominate in society or whatever? Don't look at the chat.
Sorry, I just got a message from somebody. So ways in that society, ways in which men dominate society. I mean, men pretty much sit at the hierarchy of almost every important thing as it stands right now. So if we look at like the majority of business owners, if we look at the majority of capital owners, if we look at the majority of important decision makers like politicians or presidents or heads of state, just in general, in most power structures in society, men are usually disproportionately either sitting at the very top or make up like the very top.
But if you look at the vote, women predominantly vote Democratic. So if we make up most of the vote, why isn't there a woman in office? This is like how I think of it. It's like nobody wants to do it, and the only one we had was Hillary. I don't know how, like, you know what I'm saying though? Like, it just doesn't seem like women are running, and the ones that are do make it into those positions, like AOC and, you know, I don't know politics that much, but like, can you counter that so I can understand it?
I'm just.
What are they saying?
No, I need a minute to think about how I'm supposed to respond to that question. Okay.
Like more women vote.
No. Okay.
Which one? Oh God.
Okay.
He's like, oh fuck, she's a dumb bitch.
No. Well, yeah, but okay. Just follow me on this one, okay? We're gonna start.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've got two kids, all right? Fred and Mark, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fred comes from a beautiful, white, dual parent household. Both parents make a lot of money. Mom stays at home, helps them with schoolwork. They got a lot of money for food, nutrition, all that. Okay. He's a runner. Okay. He does track and field. Okay. Then we've got the other kid. I forgot his name. Jeff. Okay. Mark and Jeff.
Mark. It's Mark.
What was the first kid's name?
Fred.
Okay. Fred. Okay. That was Fred's household. Mark is a minority, and he's in a.
Okay, hold up.
No, can I?
Before no,
okay,
come on.
Go ahead.
I get the intersectionality.
No. Just okay. Now you're just gonna.
Okay,
wait.
fine.
Now you're gonna wait. Okay. Mark is poor. He lives in a shitty house. He's malnourished his whole life. Okay. Doesn't even grow as tall as he's supposed to. Parents don't help him with anything. He doesn't get to start school athletics ever because he has to work a job to help his mom and all that shit. Okay. So all of this shit. When these two kids turn 18 years old, both of them have a chance to run track and field, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, who was the first one? Jeff?
Fred,
okay. If Fred and Mark go to compete, okay, after 18 years of these two different lifestyles, how long would it take Mark to catch up to where Fred's at?
Probably he wouldn't.
Okay. Sure, that's a really extreme answer. But if I were to say, well, what if he was on a good diet for a week? Or what if he trained for 6 months?
He's like really malnourished,
Yeah,
right?
he's super far behind.
He needs like gear.
Yeah. So when we talk about things like the patriarchy or the establishment of men, the higher part of the hierarchy between male and female, right? One or two generations of like women working isn't going to flip that. The way that patriarchy is in our lives is going to be like deeply embedded at social levels, at occupational levels, at political levels, such that like a few generations isn't enough to just vote it away.
But why is it so bad? If a gender stereotype seems to be something that the patriarchy hates with like a burning passion.
Okay, why do you think they hate gender stereotypes?
I guess I could see if a girl didn't want kids or something and everybody was pressuring her to have kids because she's just good for her womb type shit. Like that would be annoying.
Yeah, that's one thing. So what you're talking about is a subset of gender prescriptions. Like basically saying like, if you're a woman or if you're a man, you have to live this way. If you don't do that, we're all going to bully the fuck out of you. That's generally what like feminists would want to fight against, is that like people should have the opportunity to explore and do the things they want to in life. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But I don't really think people are bullying them.
Do you think
I feel
that
like
there are
feminists are bullying everybody else for their choices?
They might sometimes, sure. I'm not going to say that's not true. Okay. But do you think that there might be like general things in society that men are seen as being able to do that people don't want women doing, or that women are seen as being able to do that they don't want men doing? Do you think in general that might be a thing?
Well, no. I mean, when I used to wrap cars, there was a guy that was like, I don't want a girl working on my car. And then my boss made me work on the car. So they didn't give a fuck. Like, I don't know.
Sure, in that case, but like, I'm just saying that in general, there might
Can
be.
you give me an example?
Well, that you just gave me an example right there. Somebody maybe said that.
But that proved my point that it doesn't matter.
It
You know what
didn't
I'm
prove your
saying?
point. It showed that one man didn't want you doing something, and it took your boss, who I'm
So?
guessing is another man, to tell you that you could.
I thought I could no matter what.
Yeah, but what if your boss told you no, then you're not going to be doing it?
That's not how it works at a shop.
Hold on.
It's-
That's absolutely how it works at a shop. If your boss says,
No.
if a person came into your shop and your boss didn't want to do that work, he wouldn't sell the job. He would just tell him to go somewhere else.
Wait, what do you mean? I'm saying like in the shop, my boss was like, he doesn't want a girl working on the car. Perfect. We'll put a girl working on the car.
No,
He
but I'm
loves
saying,
women.
that if he didn't want that, if he agreed with the guy, you wouldn't be working on the car.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So like if he adopted the same mindset.
Yeah, if he had the
right?
same mindset, right?
But he would get sued.
Sure.
See?
That's a positive example of feminism, though, right? Where you
Yeah.
got like the law pushing, hopefully, against like an oppressive social standard, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about Mark? So is Mark just fucked?
Well, he's not fucked. He's sorry. Fucked. He's not fucked. It's just a lot of work to like undo the quote unquote the damage, I guess.
So what would he have to what's their goal to do? Like what do they think is going to happen? I don't know.
Well, the goal is probably to have a more equitable society where people don't feel like hardcore bullied into only performing certain roles because of their gender that's dictated to them by their gender.
But like the STEM fields are now having floods of women join them. I think we closed the gap on STEM.
Sure, and to some extent we probably have, but not completely, right? So people are just nibbling around the edges at places where they think they can probably find more equitable distributions.
But it can't be perfect.
It's probably not going to be perfect, but there's
So then
probably
why are
still
they
areas.
annoying?
There's probably still areas where improvement can be made. No, or do you think we're done? You think this is like, I think like 10% of programmers are like women. Is that like all women can ever do for programming? They'll never get farther than that.
I don't think it's 10%. I think it's like 30 or something, which
Okay.
is still low, but like I just don't think
Is it really 30? If you go to like a comp sci program, is it really 30%? I feel like
Are you asking me? I feel like I read that. I might
I
be
feel
wrong.
like it's like 10 to 1. That'd be my guess.
I
least.
don't know. At the bigger corporations, there's a lot of women, from what I've been told. That's
Yeah, but I'm saying,
anecdotal.
but particularly in like programming areas, like women tend
Like
to work.
AI.
No, like just coding. Does that?
Yeah, AI. Duh.
True.
Okay, but don't you think? And I don't mean to pull the whole Jordan Peterson talking point, but it's like, don't you think if women wanted to, they would?
I think that there's a lot of social pressures that push us in a lot of directions, so that even if
It's
we,
like, grow up. Who cares? Push your barriers, bitch. That's how I see it.
sure, but like, do you like? I don't think anybody's above social pressure, right?
I don't give a fuck.
Then
I
why?
don't know.
Okay,
I'm...
if you don't give a fuck at all, why do you have makeup on?
Ooh, good point. Good point. Okay, I see you.
Well, and then also, I didn't even
Mhm.
comb my hair today, right? Do you see there's kind of like a different standard in terms of our presentation?
I guess, but I don't know. That's how I was raised.
Well, yeah, because you're supposed to look good to me, right?
No.
Yeah.
My mom said that people take you seriously if you look put together.
Yeah, but why do women have to look good for men? Right? Do you think
They-
that
no.
left to their own devices, do you think that women would put on makeup and everything to like just look good for each other if there were no men involved at all?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Makeup's a fun time. I
Why
was
do
a
you
makeup
think why do you
artist,
think why
so
do you
it's
think
weird.
why do women wear makeup? Why don't men wear makeup?
Men do wear makeup.
Okay, hold on. Take a break. Let me know when you're ready. Okay?
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
that's
I'm ready.
you're capping hard, okay? Men
No,
in
I'm
general do
not.
not wear makeup. That is not true. Some might, but that you're
At
talking.
large, no.
Okay,
they
so
don't
we're not
wear it,
talking
yeah.
about like your emo or goth friends or scene kids from high school. Okay,
Don't talk smack about them.
I'm not talking smack about them, but in general, men don't wear makeup, right? Men don't put as much effort generally into their appearance as women do, right?
Yeah, but they're uglier and their outcomes suck.
Who's
you know?
uglier?
Men.
Well, sure, but like even attractive men generally don't wear makeup. That's still like a pretty.
No, but my point is like men will bitch about the fact that women can wear makeup, and it's like, well, you could too, but like
Sure.
you think it's gay, so
True, sure.
I don't know what to tell you.
Sure. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm just saying that that's like an
Right.
example of like a different standard for appearances. That like women
Okay.
are kind of like by default expected to like put a decent amount of effort into their appearances, whereas for men it's like a kind of whatever thing.
But I'm saying in terms of appearance, like a man still has to wear a suit if he wants to be taken seriously.
A man has to
Yeah.
wear a suit in like the most exceptional of circumstances, I guess. And like if you're like in a very, very, very formal setting. But even at that, like compare how much trouble you have to go through as a man to put on a suit versus
They're expensive.
more compared to like really nice dresses and everything. What do you mean?
I think aren't suits like a couple grand?
For a really nice one, but you only need like 2 really good suits as a guy or one.
Yeah.
How many do you wear one dress as a woman?
Everybody knows I wear it too.
You're
I have
saying
two
you
that
stop. Hold on.
alternate.
Stop doing
You
the weird.
asked
I know,
me.
but you're doing like the weird exception to try to win the argument. In general, who do you
I'm
think
not
spends?
trying to win an argument.
Well, I'm just trying to establish the point. Who do you think spends
women
more money?
make up.
Who do you think
Women make up more of the Consumer Report, so probably women.
women have to have more money spent on clothes probably because they're expected to have like more variety in their wardrobe, right?
Are they?
I don't know. Never mind. I'm not sure. I don't know. Who
Okay.
knows? Who knows,
I
man?
just-
Who knows? Anything
it
is
just doesn't
possible,
seem-
right?
I don't know. I just wasn't raised like that.
Okay.
But I can see women like shopping.
Okay. True.
But like, anyways, so this, is this because of the patriarchy? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, some would argue that that's a part of it. Yeah.
So what? They want us to be ugly?
Yep.
That's fucked up.
True.
I don't want to do. I don't want to do it.
That's just wacky and wild, right?
No, I'm serious. Like, it seems like the patriarchy doesn't even exist here like it does in other countries.
Yeah, different countries probably have different sets of norms. That's true.
No, like I think, like if you were to go to, I don't know. I don't want to get my countries mixed up, but like Afghanistan or something.
Mm-hmm.
Where were they pulling the girls out of schools because they didn't
probably-
want them to go?
Probably that sounds like an Afghanistan thing to me.
Yeah, like the Taliban was like,
Mhm.
we're getting you out or whatever. So to me, that's a clear patriarchy.
Yeah.
I don't see it out here.
Okay.
See what I'm like a problematic one
Yeah.
out here.
Basically, it's like if people aren't being like murdered in the streets, there's like no problem, essentially.
Well, like taking girls out of schools, that's pretty sad. They were like crying and stuff. That's they don't have to be stoned to death for it to be a problem.
True.
But why isn't feminism doing anything over there?
Because feminists can't exist over there because they don't even have a society that would allow for feminism to exist. But I'm pretty sure there are feminist organizations where they try to talk about those issues. But
Interesting. Okay. So what would you recommend to read by like Friday in terms of good things on the patriarchy, like good literature? Because everything that I Google is the same shit.
I have no idea. I just read Wikipedia, bro. I'm a Wikipedia warrior.
I just feel like this whole thing's gonna cannibalize itself. It doesn't seem like there's an end.
Probably, but that's probably true of literally all social movements, right?
Yeah. But shouldn't they stop at some point?
Yeah, maybe. Probably all social movements should stop at some point, right?
Like, shouldn't they have a deadline? I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you just making fun of me?
No, I'm true. Like literally, you said you're part of the Red Pill. Isn't that community literally eating itself alive right now?
Do you mind? Don't talk about my peeps. I
Yeah.
don't talk about yours.
Yeah, okay. Pretty sure
I'm trying
everybody's
to
eating themselves
I'm trying
alive
to-
right now, okay?
I'm trying to understand your side. I'm rooting for it because honestly, y'all lost your fucking minds.
Yeah, we did. Meanwhile, you guys
what
are
else?
worshiping Andrew Tate?
No,
Yeah?
not at all.
No?
That's what upsets me.
Uh-huh.
Like I've literally told you, you're watching like the White Claw Power Hour shit, and just the
That's like the prevailing, like that is the prevailing red pillars, right?
No, it's not.
Yes,
and
it
I already
is.
explained it to you.
You
Just
can
because
explain that you have some niche content creators that you think represent your version of red pill. That's fine.
the
but
original.
it doesn't matter who the original is. It matters who the popular ones are.
True. I see. But I'm just saying, I explained it to you already.
Yeah, I
thought.
understand. You've got your people that you like, but like Fresh and Fit, and like Andrew Tate and Sneeko, these are like the popular guys for fucking red pill shit, not the other guys.
Listen, I said
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any victims. So, the Andrew Tate shit. Hope he's innocent for that reason and that reason only.
Yeah.
Otherwise, burn him at the stake. I don't give a fuck.
Jeez.
I'm kind of a sociopath if you haven't picked up on that.
I could tell because you're a woman.
Oh, that's sexist. Is that the patriarchy? Don't you think we'd be at the top if we were all sociopaths?
Well, that's why they say behind every good man is a sociopathic woman. Isn't that the saying?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we clean up all your shit.
True.
Do all the housework, the
Uh-huh.
chores. Yeah. Okay, I had another question.
Go for
Should
it.
I ask, is it so somebody in your, well, actually a large proportion of people of your audience said that I look smug when I talk. It has been bothering me since I bring it up on all my live streams. I try to point out what I think smug looks like.
Okay.
What the fuck is smug?
What do you think smug looks like?
Condescending.
Yeah. You got kind of
When have I ever been condescending?
it's just like a demeanor, you know?
But when have I ever been that way to you? I haven't.
Thanks for
just
the
like
content
your-
and
it's
for the
not what
amount
you're
of extra
saying, it's
stuff
just
for the
like
price
the
to subscribe is
tone, I
phenomenal.
think.
Destiny GG.
By tone?
Yeah.
Well, how do I fix it before I have this interview?
You just it's
'Cause
just
I
the way
don't-
you sound. Who cares? Just sound condescending. Fuck it.
That's horrible.
Why?
Because I'm not trying to be condescending.
Oh well, who cares? Then
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Try to. I mean, like women usually sound like really bubbly and blah blah blah, and that's probably why if a woman has like a more monotone kind of voice, people interpret it like very negatively.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Trauma's a bitch.
What? Okay. Is that what are you traumatized and that's why you sound the way you do?
Probably.
Okay.
That's the only thing I could think of. I don't pick up on social cues as quickly as a lot of people, so it's probably that too. I don't mirror people.
Okay.
So, anyways, okay, so is it going to be inappropriate if I ask them what they want to be called? Hold on.
They're
How they would like to be addressed. Pronouns is not a part of. Pronouns are separate, right? I know that sounds like a dumbass question.
Are you asking like what like won't they just
I
tell
ha-
you beforehand?
I just call people by their name, but is it appropriate for me to ask?
You can just ask them if you want.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how when I don't know if you've watched interviews.
I've seen a couple before, yeah.
See, I've only seen ones with Matt Walsh, and they make me cringe.
Okay.
So, you know how people will usually be like, at what age did you know that something was off? I don't want to go that route.
I don't even know what we're talking about right now.
The interview I have coming up.
What age? What's going to be off? Or what is the context of either of you asking that question?
I told you, like, so, oh, maybe I didn't finish what I was saying. On the Jubilee episode, there was a guy who transitioned, born female, transitioned to male, who was on the male feminist side. And he made some points that were like, I noticed when I was fully transitioned or presenting as a guy that I gained more respect. That was one thing. When he would walk in a room. And from my understanding of how male social dynamics work, you have to prove yourself, don't you? What is this? Do men just see us as all bimbos?
I think that the way that you would interact with a man in a room is probably a bit different than the way you'd interact with a woman in the room, yeah? By default, probably, yeah. You'd be like a bit more respectful, probably, sure.
No, I'm saying like a guy. Guy to guy, guy to girl, not me.
That's what I just said. As a guy, you interact around like men a little bit differently. You probably interact around females. Yeah, women.
But when he said that, when he walked in a room as a guy, like the guys automatically gave them respect. My understanding is that guys have to prove themselves to each other before guys give them respect. And so
I mean, you're using like these nebulous words, respect. There's going to be a baseline of respect that you'll probably get to some extent as a guy, but they're not going to like respect you as like leaders in fucking industry. I don't know what you mean.
Well, I didn't know that guys, like if a girl walks into a room, they don't respect us. I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yep, basically.
Really? They just look at us like, oh, these fucking idiots.
A lot of them do. Yeah, true.
That they just want to hate fuck.
Yeah, true.
That sucks.
Well, that's life.
Damn.
That's red pill. Shouldn't red pill tell you why men respect each other and they don't respect women? Shouldn't you know that?
That's not a red pill point.
Okay.
Don't be rude.
Okay.
Damn. Do they really think that, or are you just siding with them?
No, I think that would be a red pill idea. For instance, men would have an idea that other men are by default protectors or aggressors or people that are capable of fighting, whereas women are kind of there to be like impressed and conquered, basically. And every single male interaction, there's an underlying. I think Jordan Peterson has said this. Every single male interaction, there's an underlying threat of violence if you take it too far. You never have to worry about that with a woman. And your goals with a man that you see randomly are going to be a lot different than a woman that you meet randomly. Whereas like every woman, you want to conquer them, you want to fuck them, you have no physical respect for them. But with another man, there's going to be physical boundaries or lines you can't cross. These would be like red pill talking points. Yes.
Fucking bad red pill talking points.
Okay. I don't think a single prominent red pillar would disagree with any of those statements I just made. I think all of them would say. Actually, I'm pretty sure most of the people even in your corner, would probably agree with every statement I just made.
Yeah, if you're thinking old order, but we're in the new order. We're in a progressive time, baby.
Oh,
you gotta keep up with them. We don't do that fundamentalist shit.
Okay,
like
gotcha.
That's what I think.
Okay. Maybe there's a new order red pill stuff that's different then. Okay.
No, that's how it's always been. And the people being stuck in the old order is beta.
Okay.
That's what beta is.
Okay.
Well, now you're making it weird.
How am I making anything weird?
My chat. Damn, I have a lot of viewers right now because of you.
Oh.
A lot of people claim to hate your ass.
True, they sure do.
It's popping in here. I normally get like 14 live viewers. We're at 63.
Damn.
Yeah, they want to see what's up.
They're bopping.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that do you understand the whole intersectionality thing with this guest I have on?
No, so you're just asking if you want to ask them their pronouns or not? Is that basically your question?
No, I have a few that I'm just running by you, like what's appropriate.
Oh.
I feel like that's stupid to ask. Well, I know his name.
Ask. Okay, then just say his name if that's what you want to do.
Well, I don't want to get roasted from the feminists. That's why I'm asking.
Why do you think you're going to get roasted?
Dude, They have like pitchforks in the distance. I see it.
Okay.
They scare me. They're just not very nice.
True.
Not all of them, but just some of them. Okay. So back to that respect thing. You're saying that, so when a girl enters a room, you immediately look at her and you're just like, I would hate fuck her.
Well, I respect and love women, so I'm not like that, okay? I'm telling you
Don't-
what the red pillars say, okay?
No, I'm talking in general. You have to give me a generalized statement. Don't give me a red pill, whatever you're calling it, 'cause
And
that's
it will,
not
for
true.
in a generalized sense, if I'm just describing reality, yeah, men
Yeah.
and women treat each other differently based on them being men and women in general.
But they just look at us as things to conquer.
That I don't know if I would say that. That's a red pill statement, I think. I don't know if I would necessarily
No.
say that. You were asking me earlier to describe what a red pillar would say, and I told you what I think a red pillar would say. Now you're trying to
You're
say,
getting
so you
mad.
think... Yeah, because you're trying to hold these views to me. Those aren't my
No,
views.
because you're coming up with some stupid ass red pill shit, and it's just aggravating.
It's
And I'm
not. These are
keeping
the
it
red
cool.
pillars that I interact with. Do you think I'm just making it up? These are the Fresh and Fits and the
No,
Rollo
I
Tomasis
believe
and the
you.
Donovan Sharps, and so that's what you asked me to explain, and this is what I explained. I'm not
That
saying...
is not what Rollo Tomasi says.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Rollo Tomasi is a cringe fucking 2-inch dick fucking loser. I'm sure he said that and worse, okay?
Are you done?
Yeah. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Is that like your thing? You just like to like berate people,
Only when they're losers, yeah.
and you're the winner?
Compared to these fucks, hell yeah. I got blue hair, okay? I'm on top of the world.
Okay. I don't think hair has anything to do with it.
I do. I think it's a signal for success. And when people see hair as blue as mine, they know what's up.
When I see blue hair, I just assume you're having identity problems or something. Like you're not doing well. Same with bangs
Yeah?
on a girl. Yeah, but I know you dyed it for charity, so.
Not anymore. I'm going to keep dyeing it just because it makes people so mad. So now
does
it's a
it make
choice.
them mad?
It absolutely does. So now it's
Really?
a hair by choice. Yes.
Damn. I didn't know people. Well, actually, we did talk about how people treat you a certain way depending on what you look like.
True.
I feel like I'm bothering you.
No.
I can bring my questions.
I'm fine.
to-
I'm never bothered. Okay. This is what I do for a living every day online.
You kind of blew up, and I'm not good with the emotion.
Am I making you uncomfortable right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk quieter. I'll talk in my low Riz voice. Okay. There you go.
Did you say Riz?
Yeah. It's another red pill talking point.
Dude, Riz has been around for fucking ever. It's just in music.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is not a red pill talking. Who the fuck says Riz? I'll kill him.
Wow. That's a violent threat, but okay.
I don't give a fuck. I have bigger dick energy than I think a lot of people here in the space. Okay. What other questions, like what questions are good to ask that not a lot of people ask?
I don't know. It depends. The questions you should ask are the ones that you're interested in knowing the answers to.
But what if they're inappropriate?
They're not going to be inappropriate. If the person's willing to come on your show, they probably know that you're a red pillar. They know that you're not like super well versed in all the wokeisms, and I'm sure they'll be patient with you.
I mean, I think I'm okay. I think I'm decently well versed in woke. That's what we've been tackling this month.
Okay.
Quiz me. Let's see.
I trust you.
No, come on. I want to see if I sound radicalized.
Sure. What does intersectional mean?
Oh, God. It just means that there's different experiences based on race, gender, a socioeconomic class, and just anything disability. I said gender. Am I missing something?
You're good,
where
yeah.
where
Sure.
you grew up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. You got it, dude. That's the hardest one.
That's the hardest one. I feel like it's a conversation ender, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? What else is woke?
I don't know, dude. Why are you asking me these questions?
Come on, so I can see if I learned anything.
Why? I don't know. That's all I got.
You are useless right now.
Yep.
Okay, I'll let you go. But like, I'm so uncomfortable. I hate when people
Why do you mean
don't
you're uncomfortable? You're asking
because
me,
you.
I didn't know you were bringing me on to quiz you on your knowledge of wokeism. I don't even know what the point is of your conversation that you're gonna have. Are you bringing this guy on to debate him? Are you bringing this guy on because you want to roast the fuck out of him? What are you bringing the guy on for?
Because I want to know about why somebody who was born a female would transition to male, because that's like transitioning to the disenfranchised side. That's how I view it.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you're like, this bitch is fucking nuts.
That's a perfectly fine question. But then why not just ask them that? They probably would be willing to chat with you for it, right?
No, I know he will. I'm just saying, like, what other things can I ask that people don't normally ask? You watch a lot of content, but you obviously don't have an answer. So now I just
you don't think I have an answer? The answer would be is that gender dysphoria manifests in the brain from some very real thing that is a deep biological cause, right? So if that's the case, you're not going to be thinking in your mind. That would be like asking me, why are you only 5'8"? Why aren't you 6 feet tall? Like, well, I don't know, because I am. Or it'd be like
wait. I believe in gender dysphoria. Okay?
I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying that, like, asking a trans person, why would you transition from male to female? Because they feel like they're a woman. That's the answer. That's like asking why a guy is gay. Well, because I'm gay. I just am. You just are. Like, that would be the answer that people would give. Yeah.
And then he was saying that he was more privileged after, and that's wild to me. And
because he probably feels like there are more privileges in society for men than there are for women.
I know, and that's why I'm trying to ask you what they are.
I already gave you some earlier. I said that in general, society seems to be constructed in a way that being a man is usually always an asset, and being a woman carries with it a lot more kind of like weird social confinement generally.
I don't feel that way, though. Can you explain it?
I gave an example earlier. For instance, a difference in standards of appearance, right? Typically,
that's not a bad thing. You know?
Yeah, because your mind is like, you're like fully bought into it. So you don't want to hear me explain what patriarchy is because I'm just explaining the aspects of it. But in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I agree with you, Destiny, but I think these are good things. You like that arrangement, which there's no problem with.
No, don't say I have internalized misogyny.
I didn't say you had internalized misogyny. I'm just saying that you.
That is.
No,
that's what that is.
I said that you probably. It seems like you. It seems like you like some of the structures in place.
No, it's that I don't see anybody doing anything differently.
But you could.
But there's comfort, right? Because I'm still more right leaning, so there's comfort in doing the same thing. I don't see that one as problematic.
Sure, you don't have to. It doesn't. If you don't see it as problematic, that's fine. Somebody that is a big proponent of feminism would see it as problematic.
And I'm trying to get you to explain why. Can you not get mad?
I'm not. I just wanted to.
Please, just.
I'm not mad. That's just the way that I communicate. I'm a very dynamic communicator. I like to increase the volume, move around a lot.
No, it scares me.
Why? We've got millions of miles separating the two of us. Okay, I'm communicating from Mars right now. You're fine. Okay.
I just don't know how to respond.
You responded just fine. You screamed at me. I screamed at you. That's the perfect response.
So. See, I see women as empowered. They're doing better. Like, they take more. Like, I feel like they're graduating at higher rates. Yeah, they have more student loan debt, but they have, I'm thinking just in terms of school, but that's a big one.
School is one way that women are starting to pull ahead, although I think men are still gravitating towards higher paying jobs.
You think so?
Well, if we look at the aggregate earnings of men and women, I think men are probably still out-earning women, aren't they?
There's a small gap, but like, the gap in my eyes, maybe I'm wrong. It's like whoever's in charge might just be fucking racist, or they might just be sexist. It's like, can you really dismantle all of it? You know what I mean? Like, some people just suck.
Sure, but the point is you probably try to do it as much as you can. That's the point, right?
I think we did. I think it's
Okay,
less
so this
than
is far. We can't go any
20%.
farther right now, right?
I think it's less than 20%. That's pretty good. Okay. You think it could go perfect?
I didn't say it could go perfect. There's a difference between saying where we're at right now is like the best we can do and it must be perfect. We can probably just go a little bit further. The gains that we've made so far in women in education is probably because of feminism, right? And maybe we can go a little bit further. Who knows?
But what about men?
What about men?
I feel like our young generation of men are sedated, drugged up, playing video games, unmotivated, jacking off a lot. Sorry, I don't know.
Sure,
Like,
that's true. But a lot of that is the product of patriarchy. Video games
Is
were
it? Okay, explain that.
video games were made by and marketed to men. Growing up, we told little boys that video games for them. We didn't want girls playing games. We wanted boys playing games. They were made by men. All of them revolve around like shooting and killing something. They all appeal to male interests. And now 20 years later, boys are playing video games at high rates. We're like, well, what's going on? And then if you mention patriarchy, people lose their mind. But video games are largely a product of like male-driven society. Do you think if women were in charge of society?
Okay, but women...
Let me finish my statement. If women were in charge of society, do you think that the most popular video games would be Call of Duty? Right? They probably wouldn't all be shooter games. It'd be like fucking Stardew Valley.
Oh my God, we're gonna turn into like... Ugh. Okay, well, what about...
Don't say, wait, hold on. Don't just say, oh, you just cried and complained that, oh no, men are masturbating too much.
That's like, no, you were saying the video games, right?
Sure, the porn is the exact same way. Porn is an industry built
so
by
you're
and
saying
for
that-
men.
So you're saying that social media didn't fuck up women? We started that. That wasn't a dude.
Sure. So first of all, social media was started by dudes, quite literally, right?
No.
Who
Social
started
media.
Facebook?
First of all, I'm talking about Wi-Fi. It was a woman.
What is Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi has nothing to do with social media.
Okay, well,
it's
in
Tom
order for
from
us to-
Facebook, not Mary Jane from Facebook. It's Mark
Okay,
Zuckerberg,
you're right.
not
You're
Samantha
right.
Zuckerberg. Sorry, okay.
You're getting too literal. I'm talking like in terms of Wi-Fi on your phone that led to social media. Fine. It was started by a dude, but I'm just saying, like, oh, you're saying that whoever starts it, it's for them, for men. Like, it just sounds stupid.
Okay, I'm right though, and you have nothing to say against
But
it. Like,
well,
you, like,
no, it-
okay, do
so
we
you're saying-
rather than
So you're saying that because men decided to make video games, they fucked up a generation of men, and that was the patriarchy? Don't you think there's personal responsibility? Or no, it's
okay,
just,
yeah,
oh,
there's personal
it was wrong.
responsibility. Then don't ever cry to me about men masturbating or playing video games. They should all just take more responsibility. Who cares about
But
feminism or women or anything else? Just make them take more responsibility. If you're a guy and you fucked your life up on porn or video games, that's your fucking
Sure.
fault. Kill yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Fucking mean. But like,
Well, why?
don't
You said personal
think-
responsibility. Why would we talk about anything else? Fuck them.
I think I'm not following your line of thinking. So if we're gonna raise women up, right? Why aren't we trying to help men?
Society's been built around men. We shouldn't stop
Well,
helping men.
but
We can
we're-
keep helping men. There's
If
nothing
you're
wrong
gonna
with it.
dismantle the patriarchy, where do the men go? You have to
Patriarchy
start
isn't
from the
something-
bottom.
Patriarchy isn't something that only hurts women. Patriarchy is arguably oppressive to men as well.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what feminists say.
But I'm saying to you, you're saying that patriarchy fucks up both genders, right?
Yes.
Cool. So if it's fucking up men, don't we need to empower them in a separate way in order to keep them on track as well? Or are we just going to leave them in the
No, you should empower them as well, of course. Yeah.
So how do we do that?
I don't know. It depends what in particular you're talking about. What type of empowerment are we looking for?
School.
Sure.
So like
For school,
scholarships?
yeah, school probably should be a little bit more redesigned to be more friendly towards men. Maybe that means like being more aggressive about getting men in like sports or athletics or having like outdoor areas for them to play in.
That's the patriarchy.
How is that the patriarchy?
Because sports were created for men. By men.
Okay, gotcha.
See how it cannibalizes itself?
It
sounds
didn't just
stupid.
cannibalize itself. Nothing sounded
It's the
stupid.
same as the video game
Everything that I
argument.
just said was completely internally consistent and fine. Nothing
I
was...
don't think so.
Okay.
You know I'm right.
You're not. You haven't said anything of value right now.
Okay, then go. If you're gonna be rude.
How you're being rude?
How the fuck am I being rude? I'm trying to fucking pull another example to make an analogy from your stupid video game point.
You just
and
said
then
I was How is my point? Okay,
It is dumb.
Let's focus on the video game point. How is the video game point stupid?
Because men got together and said, let's make a game. Let's make some games. And now we have a society of men that play, like, I don't know what the stat is, 2,000 plus video games hours a year. Sorry. Like, that is a man. Why is it always a man problem? You could argue it was a woman's problem that drove
How is
them
it?
there.
I thought you said video games were problems with problems that young boys had with playing too many video games. Did you say that or did you not say that? Do you not feel
I
that way?
said no, you're right. I'm not stepping back on any of that. I'm saying, yeah, I think men are focused on the wrong shit, but I don't think we're doing anything
Okay.
to empower them in other areas that are more fulfilling.
Okay.
If anything, they're disenfranchised.
Okay. So who made games? Who are the general people that made video games? And who were they made for?
People.
People just made games? Men and women equally made
You
video
think Spyro was for a dude?
Spyro the Dragon?
Yes, the video game.
Yes.
It's my favorite.
Probably. How many men were playing games versus women back then? How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay. I'm 34. Back then, okay, there were no women playing Spyro the Dragon, all right?
That's wild to me. What about Tamagotchi? Predominantly women.
Sure, that might have been a woman thing, sure.
So games are made for people.
Okay, so you think it's an equal number of men and women or boys and girls that play video games?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, cool.
You don't think? Google it.
I know the answer to that. I was a professional gamer.
I don't know.
I know the answer to that. And you know the answer to that. You're being silly right now.
What about
you
titty
know
streamers?
You know it's a losing argument. What about titty streamers?
Yeah, women invaded the space and they fucking kill it. They kill it in
Really? Who do you think are
Twitch,
all the
no?
top? Who are all the top streamers? Do you think it's all titty streamers?
I don't.
If you
You're
were to
the
look
only
up the
streamer I know.
If you were to look up the top 100 lists of streamers, what do you, if you had to guess, what's the breakdown on male versus female?
Probably more male.
What do you think is the breakdown? Do you think it's like 55-45?
Probably 60-40.
Okay, it's probably like 95-5.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I feel like you're lying.
Okay.
Is that really what it is?
Yeah.
Do you think... Well, wait a minute. Because what if women just don't like to play?
Do you think that's the case? Do you think women just biologically aren't programmed to play video games?
Oh, don't give me the fucking biological conservative talking points.
Well,
like
why not? Why
women.
don't they like to play? You tell me. You're the one that said maybe women don't like to play. I'm asking why. Why do you
Yeah.
not? Why not? I'll give you a hint.
I don't know.
Maybe it starts with the letter P.
What? I was gonna say it's like video games. I mean, I enjoy them. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I like to do the Easter egg thing on Call of Duty. It's like, I don't know. That's all. Like, I could play video games for hours. Why wouldn't most women? I don't know. Maybe because the men on Call of Duty scream at them.
I
It's
don't know. You tell me.
uncomfortable.
Why not? You're a woman. Why not ask like women
I'm
friends?
telling you.
No, tell me. Ask your women friends. Why don't they play Call of Duty?
It's dumb. I don't know.
It's dumb. That's why.
Yeah.
Why do men do it? Are women smarter than men?
Depends how you want to look at it.
Why-
Right now, I think we are.
It's so hard to talk to you.
Why?
Okay. Are you following like the chains of the conversation?
No.
So, okay. We're talking about video games, and I asked you, why don't women play games as much as men?
And
then
I
you
don't
said,
know.
And you said, hold on. You said because video games are dumb. And then I asked,
I got to that later.
Then I asked you,
No.
does that mean that are women smarter than men? Are men just dumb? And then you were like,
It was
well,
a
it depends.
joke.
But your answer wasn't a joke.
Relax. Are you serious? Like, relax. I'm not
so
being
relaxed.
serious. Like, it's so annoying. You can't even have a conversation. You just take everything as like a debate. Relax.
Well, because I'm trying to understand your point.
You're getting into the whole fucking superior sex shit. Like, relax.
It's not superior. I was just
you
no,
are. You're being dramatic.
Fighting your demons right now. Okay, this is a new thing. I
You're-
notice a lot of you guys do this. A lot of people
no.
use conversation with me as opportunities to fight against these invisible opponents, these
This is
ghosts
stupid.
that occupy
I just
your
wanted
mind.
help. No, I just wanted help with questions. I said I'll leave. Like, you're on my stream. You can go. Like, I feel like I'm just pissing you off.
No, I'm-
like I don't. You're so reactive, and I don't understand why. And I guess you're taking it as a debate or some shit. And I'm literally asking for your assistance, you dick. Like, relax.
I'm super relaxed. Okay.
No, you're not.
I'm so relaxed right now.
Holy fuck.
This is a male temperament. Okay. Do you have a lot of male
Let
friends?
let it out, baby.
I am.
Let
I
it
just
out.
did.
Go
Okay.
punch something.
No, that would be that'd be toxic masculinity.
No, it's not.
I think so.
Don't even start.
I'm a
Please
leftist.
don't.
That's what we believe in.
Okay. It's toxic. That's
Why
what you guys sound like.
Why do you think women?
I wanted help with my questions. I'm not trying to debate with
I'm
your
not trying to
ass.
debate. I was just asking.
You're like, what?
Well, because
Like,
when I
don't-
said it louder earlier, you said I sounded upset and mad. So now I'm trying to talk.
Because it's not helping me with my questions. You're just trying to throw me into a circle, and then your fucking clippers are gonna clip it out like red pill expert, and I'm just like, fucking kill me now, like kill me. It sucks.
Yeah.
No permission, please. Okay. Anything else you want? What were you gonna ask me? What did you want to ask me?
I was just
Was it
curious
about
why.
toxic
I was just curious why
masculinity?
women played video games less than men. That's why I was just curious.
I don't know the answer.
Okay, then that's fine.
You
That's- I
said
don't
it.
know.
You
That's-
said it started with a P. I'm assuming you meant penis. Like, I don't know what that fucking means,
Oh,
Destiny.
no, I meant patriarchy because that's kind of what we were talking about. Maybe that's the reason.
Okay,
why.
and I'm just a dumb bitch.
Jesus, I wouldn't say that. That's mean.
Like, what? No. If you're a dumb bitch, you're
if I
being
call
a
you a dumb bitch, you don't think that's a mean thing to say?
No, I do it all the time.
Maybe you're mean.
Maybe. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, that's for sure. I think you're being smug. I think this
You
is
think
smug.
I'm being smug? I thought you
Yeah,
said
I
you had
think-
the smug problem.
No, that's what your chat said, and I think you're smug.
Oh, wow.
That's bad, right?
You know what I think you're doing right now?
What?
I think you're Darvoing me. Do you know what Darvo means?
Darvo?
D-A-R-V-O.
Thanks, asshole. I can spell it. Deny attack, reverse victim. Oh, God. Okay, I'm gonna hang up.
That's what you're doing to me right now.
Dude, I don't know. You know what? Fine. Fine. Destiny, I think you're toxic.
Yeah, I think you're
Hey,
toxic. And
I
now you're
think you
calling
have-
me toxic because you're
And
yeah.
gaslighting you. No, like, don't say that. You know I wasn't actually Darvoing you.
I think you're
That's
now you're trying to pretend
retarded.
you weren't Darvoing me. That's exactly what's happening right now.
So you wanted to debate.
No, I was trying to answer your questions.
No, like, I feel attacked. I feel like this whole time you've been kind of attacking.
Do you think so?
No, not actually. But
Oh,
I mean,
so
every
you
time
just-
I said
So now you gaslighted me. So first you were Darvoing
yes,
and now you just
yes,
use gaslight.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. At least I can admit it, right?
True. It's just like every tool in the manipulative female arsenal right now coming out.
Okay. I don't know what to say.
Well, do you have any?
This is when I play victim, right? I
Is
looked
it?
it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice job.
I'm trying to.
You've got like a
keep up.
step-by-step guide now for.
Yeah. Now, victim and offender. Now I have to offend you.
You already did that. I feel offended.
Do you? Really?
No.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
You're good.
Oh.
I never feel offended.
Oh, so you're a sociopath too.
Well, I'm just a man, and we don't get offended by. Online
Questionable.
fights.
Questionable.
Questionable if I'm a man, or questionable I get offended.
If you get offended, like men, if men get offended on the internet.
Oh, you think men
in
do?
general? Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Is that bad? I think we all can.
Well, you're supposed to be stoic as a man. That's what our good mutual friend Rollo Tomasi would say.
Stoic?
Yeah. Stoicism.
Do you know what that means by definition?
It means to live a life unencumbered by the burdensome.
What's unencumbered?
Not
What the fuck
being
does that
bothered
mean?
by pitiful, pathetic emotional responses to things.
Do you think stoicism can ever be used in a positive way?
Yeah. The less emotional you are, the better. Always.
No, not always. Not always.
As a man.
In order
Logic
for a
and reason
relationship,
should dictate.
oh, don't even fucking come at me with the fucking logic and reason. Don't even. If you want to piss me off, this is where you're going.
Why does that piss you off?
Because people, I'm not saying you are. I'm sure you know the difference between like the logic, reason, the whole thing. But just when I hear it, it makes it sound like women are stupid, and I hate that.
Well, it's just that they're emotional, right?
I don't know. Put a 1 in the chat if you think I've been emotional or Destiny's been emotional. Let me know.
Wait, did you say a 1 in the chat if you've been emotional or I've been emotional?
I'm not talking to your fucking chat. Your chat's fucking mean. They're mean.
My bad. I just got really confused for a second.
So are men stupid then?
We
Like that's how
must
it feels like talking to you today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, am I just the punching bag for this evening? Anything else you want to let out?
I kind of feel like I was your punching bag.
Deflecting. You can't do that.
Well, I just did, so.
Oh, darn it.
Do you have any other question or anything else you want to
No, you weren't very helpful.
Okay. Let's try
You weren't.
Let's try one
You're
more
a
time. What do you want?
fucking
What do you want me to help with?
I knew this should have been off camera. It's like you get on camera, you gotta prove something?
Okay, hold on. Firstly, I don't think I've ever even talked to you off camera before, have I?
I messaged you saying I think it'd be more appropriate if I talked to you off camera.
Okay,
but
but
if you
hold on.
want
But
to
why are
do
you
it on-
assuming I would be different off camera than on camera? Why would you assume it would be
Because
different?
maybe you're putting on a persona. I don't know. You're just got in attack mode, loser.
Why are you calling me names now?
Because
You're Darvoing.
You're damn right I am.
Yeah.
But I'm not playing victim.
You are the victim?
No, you are. You're the one being attacked.
Okay.
You just gotta mental gymnastics, you know.
True.
Fuck them up.
Nice
Yeah.
job. You did.
Yeah. I've never even talked to you off camera before.
Well, because
are
you're making it sound like it would be like I'd be a way different person off stream than on stream. I'm basically the same
Why
person.
would that make your chat just like throw a fit? Are they gonna be mad?
Why would they be mad?
I don't know. You're like, why would you get mad about that?
I'm getting mad because you're implying that I'm being ungenuine right now.
And I'm saying, why does that matter if it was off camera? Like off camera, I'm saying that you probably wouldn't be debating my ass right now over
would probably
nothing.
be the exact same conversation we are having
No,
right now.
no, I would have just sent you the questions and you would have been like, yeah, no, yeah.
Well, you
I
can
don't
just
know.
say the questions if you want.
Well, now it's weird.
Why is it weird?
You're a dick, Dustin.
Yeah, I'm always a dick. I was a dick before you sent the questions.
I never thought you were a dick.
Well, everyone else on the internet is. Maybe it just took you 2 conversations to get there.
Maybe.
Didn't we fight the last time we spoke?
No.
Are you
Did
sure?
we? I didn't get upset.
Okay.
Did you? I'm sorry.
Wow.
Did I upset you?
You probably did.
Really?
I don't know.
Why didn't you say anything?
Well, patriarchy's conditioned me to be stoic and quiet with my feelings. As a master of logic and reason.
Bullshit.
As a master of logic and reason.
You've been screaming this whole time.
Only in a stoic, unbothered way.
No.
Mhm.
You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
That's what you look like when you're mad.
Yeah, that's called a passionate, masculine, stoic male. Okay.
No, it's toxic.
It's not toxic. Toxic masculinity doesn't exist. That's not a real thing.
Good. No, it exists, but in prisons.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. Do you want any other questions, or are we?
No, you're a dick. I'll never talk to you again.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the crossroads of our lives have been fun and interesting. Do you have any final words before we never speak again, I guess?
Yeah, you owe me an apology. You can watch this back
Uh-huh.
and feel like a piece of shit.
You think that's what's going to happen?
Nope.
Okay, that's good. Well, you answered that question correctly very quickly, so that's good.
Like, was it your plan just to embarrass me?
I haven't tried to embarrass you.
Like, you just start to debate me when I'm asking for general advice?
You weren't just asking for general advice. We were having
Yeah, I was.
substantive disagreements over the things that you were saying. So of course there's going to be a debate.
You called it a debate, and I'm trying to understand. I literally asked you because I needed to find information that I'm not finding on Google. I said that in the beginning. I literally only wanted to talk to you so I could get a nuanced
I answered your
perspective.
questions, but you didn't like my answers, and then you started to debate me on them.
No, don't even say that.
That's what happened.
Now you're Darvo.
No.
That never happened.
You're asking me, like, what is patriarchy? I'm saying, oh, this or that. And you're like, well, I don't think that men have any advantage in
Yes,
society.
so
I'm like,
explain
okay.
it a different way.
I did, but then when I explained, you're like,
know.
I explained like the difference in appearance, and you're like, well, I don't think that's even a disadvantage. Like, okay,
So
then you.
then explain it a different way.
No, I did
That's
explain
not
it.
me.
You're
That's not-
misunderstanding
no,
my
that-
explanations for you not agreeing. Wow, that's really mature. Okay.
That was rude.
It was very rude. You're gonna look it over again, and you're gonna realize you were the asshole. Yeah.
You want me to be an asshole right now? Because I will.
You already are.
No, you don't know. You don't know. I'm a cunt, Destiny. But nothing but polite.
Really?
A little combative, but polite. And curious. Not condescending. Not smug. Your fucking chat likes to say.
Okay. I support your right to be however you want to be, because I'm a male feminist.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Bye.
Goodbye. This is goodbye forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Goodbye, Tori. It's been fun.
Bye.
Bye. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. The person was unhinged. I can't tell if she was serious. I don't know. I have no idea.
Can I ask you a question, though, or ask the group a question?
She was
There's
in
more
this
world
video,
leaders
apparently.
who are male, and typically I think
Good, and
leadership...
that's a good thing. Women should not be in positions of extreme leadership like presidents, et cetera,
Holy.
because we're too emotional.
I'm feeling a lot of emotion right now.
Advertised above men models.
They're by just having
Oh, is that her?
judicial system when it comes to a little bit.
Feel some type of way sometimes,
That's
right?
why we need guns.
Well, there you go.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the judicial system. When it comes to, let's say, domestic.
Don't. Oh, it's gonna be like male rates of imprisonment or whatever. Like when men attack women, they go to prison more often than when women attack men, and the judicial system treats men unfairly. It's always like there's like 3 talking points that red pills always use.
Dispute. If a woman calls the police, they automatically show up, arrest the man. This the Duluth model, I think is how you pronounced it. And that's already in place. It's not necessarily like a right or anything, but it's certainly in all of the police departments. Is if feminism is all about equality, why would you automatically arrest a man? When they arrest him, his name is in the newspaper automatically. The fact that a woman can say Jane Doe and she doesn't have to put her name out there, what skin in the game is there?
And there's so many instances of that. I know men personally who have had domestic violence within the relationship with children involved, unfortunately. And the woman attacked the man in front of the child, and he's still, I know 2 instances personally, and he's still fighting to get the child back. That's from the Me Too movement. Congratulations. You guys got that. It kind of
Okay. Well, listen. Is that not true? No, that is true. There are aspects of the criminal justice system that are probably unfair towards men. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, listen, it's been fun. Had a grand old time. I will be back tomorrow, okay? Say sorry to Judean? Yeah, I don't know what happened to him, okay. Oh, apparently they just rolled out a new chat update for Kick finally. I guess I'll see more tomorrow if that's true. Holy Jesus. Hopefully it's true tomorrow. Go to her channel? Well, let's host a duder. We did boy, girl. Did I host a boy or a girl last time? Does anybody remember? $125K views on my anti-Hindu tweet. Oh shit. You did a boy last time, a Muslim guy. Oh, true. Okay, so girl this time. Just chatting. Destiny. Not this guy. I think this is a guy. Guy. Sam is a guy. Jurgo. Daisy, girl. Destiny, kind of true. Please use a picture of a child with disabilities to make fun of our religion. If you want to make fun of religion, feel free to do so. Wait, is this a child with disabilities? I just assumed this was like some wacky fucking Photoshop. Is this like a real person? Well, now this is probably this is a lot meaner than I thought it was initially. I thought it was like a fucking weird ass fucking Photoshop. They had a phantom twin? Are they at least, is it dead at least? Or them? They, not it. Oh god. Oh, here, I'm Reagan. Okay. Wait, is she watching basketball? No, boring. I'm not hosting a sports watcher. They said she was a Vishnu reincarnate? Wait, hold on, did Hindus actually say that? Wait. Okay, well, if that's true, then it's funny again. Hold on. Lakshmi. Is it any girl born with arms and 4 legs? Oh, she's not even dead. She's like alive. Oh, I feel bad. This is like a real little girl now that I'm just like fucking... All right, now that I'm not a little girl that I'm just fucking, that I just fucking tweeted I met. Ig Gip is playing a scary game. Gotcha. Jesus Christ. Is she still alive? This person should be almost 20 years old now, right? I'm curious because the last reported stuff was when they're like... Shut up, Mel. Former 8-limbed... This is 2015. There should be something 9 years later. What if she DMs me? Oh, God. Okay. I'm hosting this person. Riverrunner, Cappuccino, Pappuccino, Hoppuccino, Moppuccino, Depuccino, Cappuccino, Appuccino, Alpuccino, my dirty nose. Catch you guys tomorrow, Reno.